just happy that we won tonight. And I really haven't thought about that because you're always looking forward. And I just love this team so much and what they've been able to do. I can't even put it into words.
Domination is a word. Dynasty would be another word, because that dynasty dominated last night. Won Nick Saban his 7th national championship, the most of any coach who's ever coached in college football. In Alabama, once again, reigns atop of college football's highest peak, 52-24. Just like I told you, JJ, take the under and, or what I say, take the over and take Alabama. All right, that's why I don't do that a lot. It's the opening drive on a Tuesday after a championship was handed out. Jeff Siembieda, JJ Buck, Micah, and Josh. Dynasties dominate. Dynasties win. Dynasties find ways. Dynasties are rare. You have one. And as much as Clemson may get a win here or LSU might get one there, this is the premier program of our time. They are not slowing down. You can have a conversation about, was that their best team? Defensively, they were good. Offensively, they were unbelievable. And there was no doubt last night who was the best team in this wacky, bizarre, put your Mad Lib term in, college football season.
There's no doubt about it when it comes to Alabama football, and I just always hear that voice of Keith Jackson in the back of my mind, Alabama, and it just rings true. Last night, and Ohio State would score in the third quarter, and like, oh, maybe it's a game. Nope, it never was a game. Alabama from start to finish, just domination. The program's gotten to the next level with quarterback play. They've always had the talent, and what we've seen over the last few years with Tua and then Mac Jones. It's guys that are able to take the offense to the next level. The evolution of the tight offense, the depth is just absolutely unbelievable. From Devontae Smith down to Jalen Waddle, even though he was hurt, played a couple plays on that ankle last night to get a chance to play the national title game. And this is a team that's going to have 4 first-round wide receivers in the last 2 years in the NFL draft. There's a reason they're at the top of the recruiting rankings, and they pay it off on the football field. And gosh darn it, one of those things, you're not supposed to like dynasties. You're supposed to root against this stuff. But Nick Saban is one of the college football coaches that I get why the players are all in. When you hear him after the game talk about it's for the kids, and then his moment of letting his star center go take the final snap of the game after he just had ACL surgery last week, which is such a huge moment. It might not seem like a lot, but the kid was like, can I just stand on the sidelines, and then I'll do the snap as we take the knee? And it's the little things like that that stand out along the way. And 6 national titles for Nick Saban at Alabama.
And I don't even know if that was the plan to have him go in at the end. It was, let him dress was a big thing so he could be out there on the field with the game put away and take that final snap and actually be on the field for that final play for a guy who contributed so much to that program, but to your point, had surgery last week on his knee. Mac Jones was terrific. Devontae Smith was outstanding. I mean, there's the Heisman Trophy winner. That means, I think we've clarified this, the best player in college football, right? Are you okay that they got it right as the best player in college football? Is there a better player in college football this year?
I voted for him, number one.
Yeah, but as far as it becoming an offensive award, I mean, is there a better player in college football?
Not this year. They got it right this year. Yeah. It was unbelievable. He won the offensive MVP with 1/2 of football.
Yeah. Yeah.
He hurt his fingers, and he did not have a stat in the second half.
12 catches, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half of a national championship game. They knew where the ball was going. They couldn't stop it. They knew who the go-to player was. Waddle was, as you pointed out there somewhat as a token just to kind of play. But he was injured and hobbled. I think the running back is terrific. He looks like he's just the latest in the line of stud running backs. I mean, didn't he look to you, Najee Harris, like Mark Ingram did, like all these Alabama running backs look towards the end of the season when you watch him in the college football playoff. Just another big bruising back who went for 22 carries, 79 yards, and a couple touchdowns. And give it to Mac Jones, because Mac Jones, their quarterback, who threw 45 times, 36 for 45, 464, and 5 touchdowns. This is their stopgap guy. This was going to be between Tua and the next stud. All right, put Mac Jones out there for a year, and well, let's see. Let's hopefully, we can win a few games. I don't know how you get a better stat line. That's a better stat line than Tua or any of those guys had in a national championship game. Mac Jones has earned himself a chance to make a lot of money. We'll see how good he is. And Steve Sarkisian, and I know they talked about it a lot during the broadcast last night. One of the reasons Devontae Smith was able to get the ball 12 times in the first half is because of the way they drew it up. And I think of the play, the touchdown he scored at the goal line, I want to say it was his second, where he started in the slot on the left. And as the ball was snapped, came back towards the quarterback and drew everything away from him, and then flared out into the flat, and there was nobody who can catch him. I think the creativity on Steve Sarkisian, who now this morning leaves to become the head football coach at Texas, was on display. And there's a reason. We say a lot, why do guys get jobs? Why do the same guys keep getting jobs over and over in football? And some guys have minds, and the next guy in is your favorite guy, Bill O'Brien, who's going to go in and take over the offensive coordinator. But some guys have these minds, these creative minds, and Sark obviously is one of them.
That offense is diverse. It's dynamic. It's not just they have great skill position players, but they put them in areas in which they're that much harder to defend. You mentioned Smith in space on some of those clear out routes, plays underneath him. Then plus he makes the ridiculous catches downfield. That's what makes him Heisman Trophy winner, what he was able to do in that first half. Sarkisian is a fascinating coach because he seems to have not just rehabbed his football image, it's also his self-image, because he had serious issues that he was dealing with at USC. And so it's one coach you look and say, okay, I get why he's getting another opportunity, especially at a program like the University of Texas. He had things he had to deal with, and if he has those on track, he definitely has the track record to coach and win at a high level in these universities. And because Alabama assistants don't always work out. You go there to rehab your image, but you leave the umbrella of Nick Saban, and life comes at you fast. I think Sark at Texas is very intriguing, and I understand why they made that move.
Well, I don't know if Sark will be considered off of the Saban tree because he was there for a couple of years, but Sark is kind of more off of a Lane Kiffin tree in a lot of respects. And Lane Kiffin was back in that position to rehab himself as well. Mike Locksley rehabbed himself. It's really interesting, the offensive coordinator position at Alabama, where Lane Kiffin came off of high-profile head coaching jobs, went there, got the job at FAU, and is now at Ole Miss, right? Mike Locksley went through what he went through here and then was at Maryland and at the offensive coordinator position. Offensive coordinator at Alabama, now is head coach at Maryland, and now Sark. And none of these guys went out and did anything egregious. It's not like there were allegations against these guys. It's not like they hit players. They were racist. Sark's issue was substance abuse, and he was going through a horrible divorce, and he had some issues, right? He got substance abuse issues, and I think we're in a day and age where we accept mental health and addiction issues in a different way than we did 20 years ago. And we're much more apt to allow an individual to rehabilitate his or her self, and hence their reputation. And I think that's really what happened with Sark.
Absolutely. And then it's the ultimate elixir is going to work at Alabama for Nick Saban. Like Butch Jones was just standing on the sideline. He's the next head coach at Arkansas State. Like every dude that goes in there off of what didn't work out will get a second chance.
And Bill O'Brien, who just got fired by the Texans during the season, will be the next guy in, the former Penn State coach who, if you remember, Bill O'Brien was the guy who went in and cleaned up the mess up at Penn State after the whole Sandusky thing up there, which is the biggest issue I think we've seen in our lifetime in college athletics, right, in a program, scandal issue, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, it's the little interaction I've had with Sark, I actually really like him when he was in the Pac-12. And so I'm rooting for him. You root for guys to rehabilitate yourself. I know not a lot of people root for Lane Kiffin, but I kind of root for Lane too, and success, and they won a bowl game. So, and certainly for Mike. So it was something. There's a lot of angles to touch on as we climb up the topic tree on Alabama's win yesterday. 505-246-0610 is how to get to us today. It's area code 505-246-0610. Your emails will come at us, jeff@610knml.com, jj@610knml.com. I strongly suggest you follow JJ on the Twitter and tweet at him at _JJ Bucket on the Facebook, the OD in the AM. You can watch the show courtesy of ProView Networks on our Facebook page. Again, the OD in the AM. JJ, when we come back, I want to get into the other side on Ohio State a little bit. I'll dive in a little bit more on the offense. I give a little bit of love to Alabama's defense. Later in the show, we'll get into Lobos. Their new home is Dixie-Kirky. No? Am I pushing it a little bit? I don't care. They'll be in Dixie-Kirky. They got a game tomorrow. And so we'll get into where Lobo basketball is going. We got NFL stuff, coaching news that came down right after we went off the air yesterday. Cowboys have a new defensive coordinator as well. But when we come back, we'll break down more on what happened last night. As Alabama, did you see the party, by the way? Did you see the streets? COVID doesn't exist in Tuscaloosa now. There is no such thing as COVID in Tuscaloosa after that party. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the sports animal.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide coaches award program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
That ball stolen. Jeremy Segura. Forward dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass, wrap around pass. Harris, Legate, the long bomb, 3 ball. Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores. A whole little jump step in the... And look out, here comes Agbayosi, Crawford. That's blocked. Lansing says, get that out of here. Sister to sister, Marianne Lansing's going to go all the way. Turnaround. Ramos, pump fake, everyone bites. Ramos hits. Jackson loses it. Jalen Bond back, LAU, put it down. Dunkalicious, how about it?
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in. He got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides looking, still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number.
You know what I tried not to do, and what we tried not to do, is focus on those things and have built-in excuses. We just kept pushing forward. Not having guys available, and then, like you said, get into a rhythm. I thought going into the semifinal game against Clemson, we hadn't played our best game yet, and we needed to play our best game tonight against Alabama, and we didn't.
It's Ryan Day. He's the head coach of Ohio State after the 52-24 Alabama victory in the national championship game in Miami last night. Jeff, JJ, Micah, and Josh on the opening drive. So I got a lot of thoughts on this, and the obvious is what we watch with Alabama's offense and Devontae Smith. Where does Devontae Smith go in this draft? Like, how high does he go? Is he? He's not your prototypical, quintessential big NFL DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Des Bryant kind of guy, but he does feel different, doesn't he?
Here's a scenario for you. If you're the Miami Dolphins, do you want Deshaun Watson or Tua, Devontae Smith, and whoever you get at 18?
Yeah, because there's a lot of talk about the Dolphins and Texans trading to Deshaun Watson in the pick. And it's a real conversation to have. It's a real thought. I wasn't going to go there next, but I will since we kind of led into this. So we overreact. And I say we as a society, not just on this show, and I really try to keep it as steady as we can. And so the conversation a week ago yesterday on this show was all about Justin Fields. And did you see that? And the Jets are going to take him at 2. And I said, do you recall? And we could rack the tape. I said, tap the brakes. Let's see what we're saying a week from tomorrow, meaning today, about Justin Fields. Now, I don't think Justin Fields destroyed himself. I don't think he hurt himself necessarily in the draft. I just don't think he's the number 2 pick. I didn't last week because he was coming off a really big game against Clemson. And I said, let's see what he does. Let's watch him put together a couple of games. I think he's an NFL quarterback. I think he's got a chance to be a starting NFL quarterback. But I think we overreacted, again, we as this big society, not necessarily you and I, but people overreacted, and the Twitter was, well, the Jets are going to take him at 2. They've got to take him at 2. Yesterday, Bob Wischusen, who's their play-by-play guy, does a lot of college football stuff for ESPN, asking Jets fans, well, what do you think? What do you think of Devontae Smith at 2, right? It was an average performance. Now, I get it. He's hurt. He's not, and you got to evaluate it. 11 for 33, 194 and a touchdown. He was fine. He didn't cost them the game. He didn't turn the ball over. Again, I think he's going to be a first-round pick. But I caution people. So what to make now of Justin Fields? Because to me, he's probably a mid-first-round guy.
He's the second quarterback that's going to be taken in the NFL draft. He was coming into the season.
So?
nothing Ohio State did this year should be surprising. People are just reacting that they didn't play enough games. Like Justin Fields was someone that people thought, all right, he could be a Heisman contender. He's the second-rated quarterback prospect in this draft, and it had nothing to do with just the Clemson game. It was who he was coming into this season. And the path that Ohio State took, unfortunately, it was rocky. They didn't have a ton of games, and he wasn't great this year. He wasn't great. He didn't wow you. And I said it the morning after the Jets beat the Rams, that the winner in that game wasn't the New York Jets. It was Sam Darnold. And so we are on the exact same page. Once they were out of the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, I think quarterback was off the table at number 2. I think Justin Fields I'd have him number 2. I think it's going to be really close. So I think there's NFL teams that have elevated Zach Wilson to that situation. I think you have 3 really good quarterbacks. So Trevor Lawrence is on a tier of his own. Then it's Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. And then the wild card is Trey Lance, North Dakota State. How do teams evaluate him? Yes. And then if your team in the 20s, you know who's probably feeling really good about themselves is, say, someone like the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Mac Jones falls there, that's my first-round pick.
It's interesting. Is Mac Jones the best Alabama quarterback prospect we've seen? Is Tua? I mean, Tua was the guy, right?
Yeah.
All right. It was Greg Mackel. He's back up in Seattle, I think, right? Which one was?
Well, Greg McElroy is an analyst on ESPN right now. AJ McCarron.
That's what I'm thinking of. The other McCarron. Yeah, Alabama hasn't had a lot of great quarterbacks. Mac Jones is interesting. I think I agree with you, by the way, on the Justin Fields thing. I never thought that he was the number 2 pick, but the conversation was so almost overwhelming a week ago yesterday after the Clemson game. I agree with you. I think he's good. So I don't know where he lands. Like, if everything holds form, and it won't. But as I look at I don't think Detroit takes him at 7. Not sure Carolina takes him at 8. Like, how far does the second quarterback slip then this time? Does he slip all the way down to New England at 15?
No, one of those teams will take him. Especially, I think Detroit, Atlanta. You have to seriously consider that, because this is the chance to start building for the future with a quarterback that's not going to be impossible to sign, because he'll be on a rookie deal as you figure out the final few years of your $100 million quarterback. So I think there are a lot more options still available for Justin Fields in this draft than potentially sliding down to the middle of the first round.
All right, here's another thing. A bit of narrative out there that I absolutely disagree with, that there should somehow be an asterisk attached to this season into Alabama. And I would tell you, if there's an asterisk, it should be like a star. It should be, this is the team that fought through one of the hardest seasons. And in fact, they played a 10-game SEC schedule. They played an 11th in the SEC championship, a 12th in the semifinal, and a 13th, right? Didn't they? They played almost a full season. I would tell you that this would be harder than just about any season, because of what they did, who they played, what they fought, the circumstances that everybody in college football and the world fought through. And to get to the finish line, to be the best, to be as dominant as they were, the whole "this is an asterisk, this doesn't count" talk, and I don't think it's as prevalent as Justin Fields should be number 2 a week ago, is ridiculous. I've thought that the whole time. Any more than the Dodgers should have an asterisk, than the Lakers should have an asterisk, than the Tampa Bay Lightning should have an asterisk. I don't buy any of it. And like I said, if you were going to put a mark by it, it would be a star, because I almost give them more credit for fighting through what they had to fight through.
I'm not on board with any of these teams talked about or described any differently winning a championship this year than opposed to any other time. Is it different? Sure. But it wasn't easier. Like there's nothing easier about this year for any teams. And we're still seeing that continue forward in sport right now, where you get back to, we're at our home stadiums, this or that. Well, they're still empty, or maybe it's limited capacity. You're still dealing with virus issues. People are still getting sick. So yeah, there's nothing where you have to point out and go, well, they won this one in the COVID year, so I don't know about it. No, they were a national champion. I'm not gonna feel any differently about it.
The game didn't feel much different to me last night. There were fans in the stands, not full, limited capacity, but the game was presented, packaged, maybe because it was Alabama, and I'm watching a game on a Monday night in January, and so there's Alabama, and there was Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit, but it felt like a national championship game to me. That game felt no different than any. Well, last year's was different because I was there, but any of the other ones that I've watched over the last, didn't it feel like the national championship to you?
That presentation was good. The broadcast was what you expected out of it. I think there's a weird feeling overall to this season. Like, you're not going to be able to shake that. I think all of us felt weird this year and different on Saturdays, maybe not as plugged in as we usually would be. But ultimately, when you get to the pinnacle of the sport, and it was Ohio State and Alabama, there was, at that point in time, no debate of who should be on the field playing for the national championship.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get more into this in a little bit. And if you want to get in on the national championship last night, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I know you watched it. I think you watched it. I mean, was it as important to you as it was in the past? To me, it was. But it's my business, and I cared, and I dig it. But was it as important to you? We're going to get into that. When we return, and you can get in at 505-246-0610, we'll get into what's next for the Lobos. From Texas to Utah, what did Bugs Bunny said? I wish I was in Dixie. Hooray, hooray. Can you find that somewhere? Bugs Bunny made that famous. I'm fairly certain, because he should have made a left at Albuquerque. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Creates space. He gives it off to Rivas for the three, and he buries it. He'll be coming in soon. Double pick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores it as foul. Right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish. What a...
Around the screen. Against White. Step back. It's blocked. JB with the block.
In transition. Ahead to hit on. Hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Has to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance. And it's put up. And it's good. What a three that is by Jalen.
Hito puts it up. Rebound, Cowboys. Right side, David Hall. Thank you very much. Here come the Cowboys. Domina Lovato lays it up. Missed it. Hey, how about it? Thank you, Lusses. Thank you very much, Raquan Mitchell. Clock at 6. They get it. Barnes Tompkins fires. Yes! Pass up court. This for the win. Blocked by DJ Bustos. Cowboys win. Cowboys win.
Next up for the Lobos tomorrow. They will play a game on the road against a WAC opponent in Dixie State. Not New Mexico State. That's another story. Chris Jans held a press conference yesterday. But they'll play Dixie State tomorrow. Then they'll go to UNLV, play their series against the Rebels, come back to St. George, Utah, which will now be their temporary home, in Dixie-Kirky, and that's where they will host the San Jose State series the following week. It's the opening drive. Jeff Siembieda and JJ Buck. Mike is producing on the radio side. Josh on the ProView Networks, where you can watch the show, ProViewNetworks.com, or our Facebook page, the OD in the AM. JJ, I'm fine with this. Like I know people are I got emails on it already, and I'll get there. I'm fine, and I think it's good. Go get another game. All of you who are laughing, and it's Dixie State. First of all, let's be very clear. Dixie State is not Our Lady of the Lake or DeTorno or whatever, La Torno or whatever the French restaurant was they played a couple weeks ago. And they're a first-year WAC team, first-year Division I. They've beaten North Dakota. They've beaten Denver. They lost to Southern Utah, and they lost to Gonzaga big. I think they win. I think, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm going to be shocked if they lose this game. And I know you people are going to lose your mind. I think Lobo fan will lose their effing mind if they lose tomorrow. But they might lose tomorrow.
Who's laughing, and what are they laughing about? Just because it's Dixie State?
Yes.
Did y'all think they were going to go play Kansas to bolster their NCAA tournament resume? Like, what were the expectations right now?
Well,
like, this is a Dixie State team that had their series canceled with New Mexico State over the weekend because of COVID issues in the Aggie program. So they're out there looking for a basketball team. It's not easy to find Division I games at this moment in time. And it also highlights just how tough it is to be based somewhere. Like, the Lobos haven't just been practicing exclusively at the gym, at the Rip Griffin Center. Like, they've been at high schools. Like, and this, I think that's what people don't get, is they just see a bad basketball team. Okay, well, why aren't you better? Well, because there's circumstances that are changing on a daily basis for this basketball team, which is why they had to find a place not to just play a game against Dixie State, but then also be like, oh, your gym's available. Cool. You mind if we stay here for a little while and play a couple more games?
Yeah, can we crash on your couch for a couple of days and use your gym? It's what it is. JJ, come on now. The best basketball team ever didn't have a home court. And they practiced wherever they could. The Harlem Globetrotters never had a home court. They practiced wherever they stayed everywhere. Come on, what the hell's wrong with you? And if you didn't get the sarcasm font, please accept the sarcasm font as intended. Dixie State is a WAC team. And to your point, why were people laughing? Because they're a WAC team. And they're called Dixie State, and you're not familiar with them. And this is one of those teams that, look, man, you're going to go on the road, and you're scuffling right now. Their last game, Gonzaga doubled them up, basically 112 to 67. But see what Gonzaga does to everybody. I mean, I'm not going to look too much into that. They lost to Southern Utah 85-78. They beat Denver 73-70 on the road. They beat North Dakota. They beat the hell is this that they beat? They beat St. Catharines. All right. I mean, what's the difference? Our Lady of the Lake, St. Catharines, DeTorno, whatever. My couple points on this. I like the game. Okay, I like the game to go out and get a game, that to get more run, to get more reps, to go and try to get better. I think the teams that they've played are three of the top four teams in your league. Three of the top five teams in your league, because I think Colorado State's one of the top five teams in your league. They haven't played San Diego State and Colorado State. So they ran up against Utah State, who is really good. They ran up against Boise State, who is really good. They ran up against a Nevada team who I think is pretty good based on what I saw them do with San Diego State this weekend. So to get out of that little juggernaut and go play a team which this is going to kill you, but it's probably a lot more like you than the teams that you played. This Dixie State team, who's a first-year team transitioning into the WAC, right now is probably more like you than the teams that you played in your league.
It's a situation that it's more than just the game, too. And like to describe the scenario around it, place to practice, place to host a couple more games. And that was another piece to the puzzle, not just, oh, let's go play Dixie State to keep our fingers crossed that we can get a win and break this streak. It's what else can we do? And of course, Jeff Grammer started reporting about the contract. It's not, a money game where either is paying each other. It's just, oh, you want to come play a game? Well, we'll play the scheduled game. And then the benefit of it is you can use our facilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's a big deal because no matter where they go, they're going to have to pay to live, eat, right, and pay to the gym. If
2-hour bus ride to Vegas from there.
Yeah, it's right over the mountain. It's because they're down there in St. George, which is southern Utah. So you just kind of go right over the mountain range and you're in Vegas in 2 hours. So yes, so it makes sense to go over on the bus, come back. And again, you're saving some money. I don't know what you're paying for a gym, $200, $500 a day to go borrow their gym or play in their gym. So instead of getting paid, you're playing a game, you're saving some money on that, and you got a place to go. And I don't know if they've got a practice facility that you can go into and spend a little bit more time in, but I'm fine with it. I like it. I just easy on this, we sit here on Thursday morning. If it's not as easy as you think it's going to be, and I'm just telling you, there's a chance they don't win that game. I think they will, JJ. I'm telling you, I don't even know what the line would be. What would you say the line would be? Who would even be favored in a game like that? You think Lobos by 3.5?
Sounds good.
A team that's just lost their last 6 games by an average of 26 points is going to go somewhere on the road and be favored by 3.5? I don't even know where you would set the line. And usually I'm pretty close on these things. But my point is...
That's a fair starting point.
Yeah. All right, so Thursday morning, what conversation are we having?
Probably the Lobos winning a tight basketball game. Yeah.
Look, if they go out and win a tight basketball game against a WAC team, I think you've seen progress. And then you're going to go play a UNLV team who's scuffling a little bit, who just played Colorado State tough twice up in Fort Collins. That's a once beaten in league Colorado State team, right? A UNLV team who, I don't know, JJ, what do you think of UNLV? Because that's what's coming up next in the league. And I think that's a tough little series for them to go play.
Everything is tough for the Lobos right now. The only thing that might not be tough is San Jose State, but guess what? The Spartans responded in their series and took Boise State down to the wire. So nothing is a given. This team just needs to keep grinding. They need opportunities. They not just need a place to practice. They need games to play. And this is what Dixie State presents them tomorrow.
Yeah. Lobo Hobo, and this is a pretty good point. He says, on the Globetrotters, Jeff, the problem with your logic, and he's right. While the Globetrotters were the greatest team ever, and they didn't have a home, they had to practice in someone else's gym all the time, man. Just like the Lobos, they did it every stinking year, living in hotels. They had no home games. There was no arena for them in Harlem. They didn't play in Harlem. But the difference was every game was dark uniforms for the Washington Generals. They never got home cooking either. And so his point is right. The Washington Generals also were on the road and not very good. Yeah, fair enough. I told you, I played for the Washington Generals once. I still got my uniform somewhere. I suited up. I got 2 points and 2 rebounds.
Tried so many things. I think they've had more players play in that franchise's history than any other team in sport because they've tried so hard to end that streak and just can't get it done.
Yeah, Josh is looking at me like, what? Yeah, no, back in Yakima, Josh. Globetrotters came to the Sun Dome, and they had a thing where they let one of the local sports guys suit up, and I got to suit up for the Generals. We did a story. I got 2 rebounds, 2 points, and an assist. That's right. Back in the day, I had a little hair on my head.
Stat line.
That's right. We lost, by the way. Can't remember the score. Damn, but we lost to the Globetrotters.
If you had more minutes, you could have been looking at maybe 8 points, 6 rebounds, 3-4 assists, changing the game.
I think they might have signed me. Yeah, I think they might have signed me at that point.
Tommy and Ray.
Travel squad.
Yeah. Yeah, back in the day. All right, we're going to go to the phones when we get back. Got to take this break. You're up next. Want to hear what you have to say. Jeff, JJ, Micah, and Josh. Everything's a road game. When was the last time we had a home game? We've all been on the road, too. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
The The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
That ball stolen. Jeremy Segura.
Dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass. Wrap around pass.
Harris, Legate, the long bomb, 3 ball.
Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores.
The whole little jump step in the... And look out, here comes Agbayosi. Crawford set. That's blocked. Lansing says, get that out of here. Sister to sister, Marianne Lansing's going to go all the way. Turnaround. Ramos, pump fake, everyone bites. Ramos hits.
Jackson loses it. Jalen Bond back, alley-oop, put it down. Dunkalicious, how about it?
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides looking, still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. 1 man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play.
All right, let me give you a little. The Lobos being in St. George for the next couple of weeks, as opposed to Texas, to me, makes a ton of sense. I mean, they got a quick turnaround after playing UNLV. They're going to play what they play? They play Saturday, Monday this week, right? Or is it Friday, Monday, Saturday, Monday in
Saturday,
UNLV?
Monday.
And so they can, instead of going all the way back to Texas, they'd make a 2-hour trip back over to St. George, and then they play the San Jose State series there. Way easier travel. Going to Utah from Vegas as opposed to going all the way to Texas. It gives them 2 days of practice instead of the one they would have had because they'd had to travel Tuesday and practice Wednesday and play Thursday. Now they can practice Tuesday and Wednesday. Like this to me makes all the sense in the world. I think it was a right move and a smart move and good for them to be able to be flexible like that and get that done.
I agree.
Get another game out of it.
This situation where usually you'd be sitting here going, all right, we're conference time, our schedule's set, let's go. Nope, work is still going on. The athletic department, the basketball teams themselves, dealing with these situations, not just of, okay, what are we going to be doing, but how are we going to be doing it? It's a constant conversation. It's changing daily. And this is a good move for Lobo basketball. Yes, they have a lot of work to do, but you also want to find a situation where, at least for the next week and a half, you can say to your basketball team, hey, this is the plan. This is what we can focus on.
Yep.
Simple, going to Vegas, coming back, host a couple games, let's go.
And Dixie State needed a game, and if your rent is playing them a game, they go play a game and pay your rent and try to beat them. 505-246-0610. Tommy, thanks for holding. Good morning. Tommy, you're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Hi. Hello, Tommy.
Great weekend. Time to shoot back at you. I just wanted to go a little off subject with the hiring of Mr. Quinn as our defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Pretty happy with that. I mean, he's got the experience. Took them to a Super Bowl even though they lost to New England. But he was the creator of that Legion of Boom back in the Seattle days.
Yep.
And I would love to see him get a chance. Maybe he'll go get Richard off the street to come help him out because they coach together. And want to see what you guys thought about that because, his Super Bowl experience, if McCarthy messes up, you never know. He could be the next head coach. And plus, he's much better defensive resume than to me, Mike Nolan. What did you guys think about that?
I love the hire. I love the hire. I think it's a terrific hire. And to your point, people forget where the Legion of Boom originated and how Dan Quinn got his job. That's why he got his job, because he was the architect of those Super Bowl defenses. And I think it's a terrific hire for them.
Cool, guys. Have a great rest of your week.
See you, Tommy. Micah, you're a Cowboy fan. You saw Dan Quinn, the former recently fired Atlanta Falcons coach, as the new defensive coordinator of the Cowboys. I think it's a great move. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's a hire.
It's a hire. All right. Who would you have rather?
Well, I mean, I'd much rather have Dan Quinn and get rid of Mike Nolan. I think it's a solid hire, but as future head coach, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a coordinators. You feel differently about those guys bouncing around than you do when certain people keep getting head coaching opportunities, because it still comes down to players. Like, you don't have the Legion of Boom without Richard Sherman and all those other guys. So you have a coach that you believe has some pretty good X's and O's, was able to do some things with Atlanta when they went on their run to put them in a good position. And Dan Quinn as DC, yeah, no problem with it.
He did go to a Super Bowl, right, as a coach, as a head coach, right? All right, I just want to make sure. When was the last time Cowboys were to Super Bowl? I forgot. It wasn't as recent as him going, right? I'm just asking. Ray, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Hello, Ray.
Hey, well, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
First of all, I do think that the move to go to St. George, Utah was a good one, and it was a good, resourceful thing to do. And does this also mean that they will come back to Lubbock when they're finished with this 2-week stretch, or maybe?
I don't know that it means that. I don't know. I think that's up in the air right now. I don't know, because after the San Jose State series, they go on the road to wherever they go, and then I think they're kind of looking at this in a 2-week chunk right now.
Well, yeah, but if they don't look at it as a 2-week chunk, it's still a pretty good place to be. I don't know if, what games Dixie has scheduled, but it's 2 hours from Vegas, and, the league would look at it as a better option, I think, for the whole league because of travel. But, we, as Lobo fans, we have to look out for what's best for the Lobos, obviously. And in terms of whether they'll win the game, I'm not really expecting anything one way or the other. Maybe if they win, it'll be a little pleasant surprise. I think the kids need it for their mental health, but at least they'll compete in the game, certainly. I also wanted to go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Oh, well, I was going to jump topics right now.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Getting back to what we saw last night, national championship game. Mac Jones is a good quarterback. I wouldn't necessarily put him in an elite class simply because he's not what you would call a good athlete. But in terms of him falling as low as, say, to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 24, I just don't think they'd go that route. Even if Ben were to retire, I don't think they'd go that route. They need O-linemen really bad. And
yes, they do.
Mason Rudolph is a better quarterback than people are giving him credit for. He has improved in the 3 years he's been there. But anyway, I'm in mourning over my Steelers now because they've got a huge rebuild coming.
I hear that. All right, Ray. Well, I appreciate the call. Be well. Mason Rudolph. I mean, if they like him, then that's a direction they can go, and then they could get away from it. Could you make an argument Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Justin Fields? I mean, watching the game last night, you can make that argument, but I mean, you can't make that argument at all, huh?
Well, you can make the argument, but it's not one that I'm going to be swayed by.
Okay. I don't think I am either. So you're just telling me one guy was just surrounded by way better weapons, way better team.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's also that situation. I think what we saw last year, kind of Joe Burrow came out of nowhere. But I think Joe Burrow is a better quarterback, better prospect than Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones has played himself into that late first round, early second round conversation. And teams really get a look at him. His completion percentage, where he put the football, all that was fantastic. And it's hard to scout players from great teams because sometimes we see a guy like Joe Burrow or Tua where this feels different. This isn't Greg McElroy or Matt Flynn or name your other LSU and Alabama quarterbacks over the last 2 decades. But you still have to ask yourself once they get to a different situation where it's not them and their entire team being the best person on the field, how are they reacting?
What can New England, Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick do with a guy like that?
I don't think they are interested in that. I think with the Cam Newton tryout this year, I really think what they want is the new breed, is the athlete, is the guy that's not just going to be stone-footed in the pocket.
Well, look, there's no stone-footed quarterbacks anymore. There's just not. I mean, Jared Goff's the closest that there is to that. There's just, I mean, who's got one of those? And is Mac Jones the stone-footed? I watched him get loose a few times. I mean, he's a drop-back guy. He's not a guy that you design runs around. But I think he can get loose.
I'm not taking him at 15. If I want to trade back and take him on, I'll do it. But if I'm sitting there at 15,
and he might be their back.
Yeah, I'll take my chance on Trey Lance or Justin Fields if they fall to me there.
Well, all right, I'm down with that. I'm with you on those other three being in front of him. But I don't know. We'll see. There's not, I don't think he's as immobile as, somebody described him as not being an athlete. He's an athlete. I watched him get loose a few times. I hear that Ryan Tannehill's a drop-back passer. Did you watch him get loose a couple weeks ago and go 50 yards? I mean, all these guys can get loose a little bit.
People not ever watching Ryan Tannehill play.
I think that's
no one ever said that about Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, well, I think we stereotype because of stereotypes, if that makes sense. All right, back to your calls when we get back. 505-246-0610. I got some emails in on Lobos and Dixie State. So now from Lubbock-Kirky to Dixie-Kirky. And what's next for this vagabond group of basketball players? Ladies, I believe, are still based out of Canyon, Texas, correct? They're playing... they're playing
in Las Vegas
their home
right now.
series. No, they're based in Vegas now. They're playing their home series starting tomorrow, Thursday in Las Vegas against
Friday.
UNLV. All right, that's why you're here. Well, it's not why you're here, but I mean, at least I'm glad you're here. How about that? It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Moreno extra pass, and Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's gonna run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos' hand. And
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open.
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
Another steal by Domino Lovato, and here comes Agbaiosi. Lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming. The lob, tagged by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
Put up. And a drive from Parham.
Get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll
just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's going to fire at the buzzer, and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
In the district, inside, fly, Eagles!
Chavez uses some athleticism, and then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds, and look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer! Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer! Back to back for Chavez.
And leaps to the end zone. A hat trick for Najee Harris.
A lot of hat tricks last night. That's Chris Fowler on ESPN. As Alabama beat Ohio State 52-24. Alabama wins another national championship. 7th for Nick Saban, I believe the 18th overall for the Crimson Tide, and puts a cap on a crazy, bizarre, freaky, weird, unprecedented
Way back
college football season. All right, Jeff Siembieda, JJ Buck, and Micah. Josh is producing on the ProView Network side. You can watch this show on ProViewNetworks.com or our Facebook page, The OD in the AM. You can call us at 505-246-0610. We'll go back to the phones. Ray, thanks for holding. Different Ray, same name, different guy. What's up, Ray?
How's it going, guys?
Good. How you living?
Hey, as far as the Lobos are concerned, I hope we see improvement. Like we've been saying every year, it's going to come down to the tournament. Hopefully, they reach their peak at the tournament. Hopefully, and they learn, because it looks like Paul Weir's teams they don't pick up the offense or the defense until almost time for the tournament, like last year, where they were losing the games and then they came back and almost beat Utah State in the Mountain West tournament. So that's what I'm hoping for. And as far as the game last night, I would take Jones over Fields any day. You saw that one at the beginning of the second half when I think that turned the whole game for them trying to come back. Was he had that 3rd down and 3, and he was right there for the first down, and then he went down and fell to a knee because he wouldn't get hit, and that put it to 4th down, and then they didn't get the 4th down. I think Matt Jones would have got the first down on that one, and I think Ohio State's quarterbacks, I don't think they're that good ever. They're good at college, but that's it. The Fields reminds me of Haskins. So if you really look at it, it looks like the same thing, same way they played. But I think that's what Fields is going to be, another Haskins, and I don't think I would draft him in the first round at all.
All right, keep in mind, and thanks for the call, he's playing injured. His ribs are jacked. Like he's not going to take unnecessary hits. And I don't want to overreact to one game. And that's why I told you last week to tap the brakes when everybody was all about him for the 2nd overall pick. I'm with you, by the way, on Justin Fields probably being better than Mac Jones. But I don't think it's a chasm. I don't think it's as wide as maybe you think it is. I'm with you on the hierarchy. I want to watch more of the BYU kid or man, as it is, because the more I thought I had watched him, and I like him, and the more I listen to some of the people who I respect as far as analysts telling me that he's the 2nd best quarterback coming out, I want to watch a little bit more of that.
And if you're the 3rd best quarterback in your draft, that's fine. Lamar Jackson was picked 5th in the first round behind 4 other dudes, and a couple of those guys weren't as good as Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
So it's, if you're 3 instead of 2, so be it. But the problem with Ray is he says, oh, I don't want to take Ohio State quarterbacks because they're not any good. Well, show me the last Alabama quarterback that was any good in the league. Like, you can't make that argument. It's one, it's easy to hang on to. And I felt that way at times about USC quarterbacks. But it means nothing. Like, it just doesn't hold any weight. Like, because a guy has never been good from said school doesn't mean there can't be one. Josh Allen went to Wyoming, and Wyoming doesn't have a track record of great quarterbacks in the league. Like, I understand the narrative, but it doesn't make sense when you say, oh, you're all in Mac Jones because you watch him win a national title last night, but you're not going to draft the other guy who, if you put him in that offense, are they worse? No.
So Wyoming doesn't have a record of bust quarterbacks either. Who's the last Ohio State quarterback? I mean, can you think of an Ohio State quarterback that made it? Kirk Herbstreit, but he made it in a different profession. Art Schlichter made it to jail. There haven't been a lot. To your point on the SC quarterbacks, right? They kept drafting them, whether, and Sam Darnold, I don't think his story's written, but from Carson Palmer to Matt Leinart to Matt Barkley to Matt Castle to, there was another one in there. What was the one who backed up in Cleveland? Mark Sanchez, certainly. What was the one who backed up in Cleveland for a minute? The Oregon quarterbacks were getting that, right? Joey Harrington and Akili Smith, and there were a bunch of Oregon quarterbacks who just flat out didn't make it until it seems like Justin Herbert is going to make it. So I think, to your point, each one's an individual, and you can't tell me that they're coming out of a system and so they don't work. If you just watched the game last night, if you didn't watch college football, if you just watched last night's game, I could see how you walk away from that saying, man, that guy in red was better than that guy in white.
Yes.
Because last night that guy in red was better than that guy in white.
But you also ask yourself, I think the difference is you put that guy in white in
That's
red,
right.
and they're just as good. And so that's the challenge. It's evaluating these guys from these mega programs, going, all right, their individual talent, how does it translate? That's why I think, Mac Jones isn't pushing the top 3 guys in this quarterback class. I think he's a very intriguing prospect. I don't think there's a lot of difference between Mac Jones and, say, Kyle Trask if you start evaluating the late first round and the second round quarterbacks. You want to give him credit, and I think he's earned that opportunity when people are really going to dive into Mac Jones and say, all right, who is this guy? How is he going to translate on the next level? I am very intrigued. I still believe that if I was in one of those situations sitting there, I would have him behind those other 3.
Okay. And we'll see where it goes as we get closer to April. 505-246-0610. Lance, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Hello, Lance.
Good morning, guys. Hey, IPS, they're in big service now because APD can't just go handcuff guys. Okay? So it's like, if you live on a street, all of you pitch in, on your block, and you have an IPS guy cruising around all day. I mean, that's the bomb. They could come out and just zap the guy, get him on the ground. So, anyway, that's a way to fight crime. And, anyway, yesterday, too, Deshaun called in, and I said nothing bad about the Houston quarterback. I mean, they should just keep him, as far as I'm concerned, and just keep, he had a little bad season, and I don't know, thinking what I was reiterating on now is like Big Ben. You're going to look at smokestacks outside your apartment all day, or, the guy from, the Chargers. Like, there's beautiful places in Colorado to live. And you could do a Peyton Manning, just walk in for a year or 2, and then he's a leader. Because the quarterback on the team, he's over there dancing around on the sideline. He's not a leader, And anyway, hey, out there, Sean, why don't you try calling in the Jim Rome show today and see how long you go before they run you? I won money off that show, so just so you know. I'll spit out your bones. Be careful where you tread. Stay in your own lane.
All right. So his point is he thinks that Ben Roethlisberger should go to the Broncos, and somehow they're going to win a championship like they did the back end with Peyton Manning. And the huge difference is this Broncos team is not nearly as good, especially defensively, as when Peyton Manning left Indianapolis and joined your Broncos.
That is correct.
Now, you might tell me there's more beautiful places to live in Colorado. You might be right. Maybe you like Pennsylvania. Western Pennsylvania is beautiful. Green, there's rolling hills. It's beautiful. Now it gets cold. It gets cold in Denver, too. But I just don't think they're nearly as close. And I agree with you that there's no reason to go down that road. None.
And I don't think Ben Roethlisberger is going to be available to go down that road.
Then there's that. They trade for him, for Manning. When he had the neck surgery, no, he was a free agent. So he had the neck surgery. They drafted Andrew Luck. They released Peyton, and he went on a little tour, and he ended up with John Elway. That's how that worked out, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, 505-246-0610. I'm going to get to your emails when we get back. Jeff at 610knml.com or JJ at 610knml.com. Follow JJ on the Twitter. It's _JJBuck. And, Lance talked about IPS, so thanks for the early plug. International Protective Service. Lance uses them. You should use them, too. I do, too. They watch my home. It's security for your home, security for your business. I know it's like insurance. Sometimes you don't want to pay for some stuff. You know you need it, and then a bad guy breaks in, you realize you should have been prepared. Don't wait. Don't wait until something bad happens to you. Do what it is you know you need to do. Call IPS and talk to them. Aaron has got officers who are trained, many former law enforcement, former military, and their job is to keep you safe, your business, your home, your family, to stop crime before it happens. They've got guards on site or 24-hour patrols, and they give you peace of mind. If you're going out of town, let them know. They'll roll the garbage cans to the curb and back on garbage day. They'll pick up the newspaper. They'll pick up the mail. Just give your home that lived-in look and protect what's important to you. International Protective Service. I use them. I think you should too. It's peace of mind and it's security. 505-897-2420. That's 505-897-2420 or go to ipsglobal.com.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide coaches award program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
Let's see if Melfi can cash it in. He's got some protection. Deep ball. Erickson's open. Touchdown, Monarchs.
Second and 10. Smith looking, and he's going to fire over the middle, and he's got his guy, and it's another big play. Walking away for a touchdown, Tristan Altier.
Going to hand it off to Chavez. Chavez breaking tackles. Look out. Chavez up the sideline. Stays in bounds. Touchdown. Volcanovic.
That replay to just get the measurement. I mean, Smith's got a fire on first down, and he's on the outside. There's a lot of room for Brad Thomas. A move, and he's set free. Dance into the end zone. Touchdown. So it goes.
He'll run with it. Stumbling. Gets down into the end zone. And looking to throw it. And he throws it in the end zone. Caught!
First and 10 from the 11. And spin move for Smith. Push the B button. Dance into the end zone.
He'll throw it. Looking. Here comes the rush. Stepping up. Pavia now running around. Being chased. Looks across. Throws it up, man's wide open. Ball is caught. Touchdown. Jimmy Gaye. Chavez dropping, looking, stepping up. He's going to run. He's got a lot of green in front of him. To the end zone. Touchdown. Rio Rancho, Isaiah Chavez. Chavez set. He's going to run with it again and dives and...
It's Austin Smith, and to the outside, a lot of room. Look out, a foot race down the sideline. All the way on the first play from scrimmage, Chris. That's a touchdown.
Scrambling. And great hit. He bounces off outside. Got some daylight at the 20, the 10, the 5. What an incredible run.
Lovato driving. They're going to count it. Gallegos. Ooh, a little spin and a finish.
Alabama, 52-24 over Ohio State. I told you, man, everything changes. Narratives change, and this is sports fan. This is what we do. This is what you do. And it's what did I see yesterday? And so a week ago, after Justin Fields had that terrific game and Ohio State beat Clemson, and look how good he is good. He was good. He still is good, even after what you saw last night. And I said, well, tap it. Let's see, how are you going to feel after the championship game? Because I thought that Alabama was going to beat him. And I thought that he was going to play a better defense than Clemson. I don't think Clemson's defense is very good. And how do you feel now? And now it's, wow, Mac Jones is better than him. That's the first time I ever heard Mac Jones better than Justin Fields. Have you ever heard that before?
No, not in the NFL draft conversation.
But what you saw last night, well, I mean, of course the guy who threw 5 touchdowns is better than the guy who threw 1. Well, but what's around him? Now, who had a better game last night? Inarguable. Who walked away the winner last night? Not even a conversation. Okay? But what does that mean in the long term? And I think to your point, and I think you're right, the long-term evaluation, the body of work. Now, did Mac Jones jump himself into a first-round pick? He may have. He may have. But Justin Fields is going to go before Mac Jones.
Yes, it's you're right. Pump the brakes. We're not sitting here talking about Trevor Lawrence being bad because he lost to Ohio State, and an Ohio State team that didn't look good against Alabama, so that look worse on Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence.
No, it should have looked worse on Trevor Lawrence, right?
So it's in the moment what we saw. Justin Fields is still a very intriguing quarterback prospect, probably the 3rd quarterback selected, depending how it shapes out between him and Zach Wilson with all these teams. And Mac Jones is intriguing. Mac Jones deserves credit. And this is what happens sometimes, is because we get so caught up on what you're going to be as a pro, you are never really given the credit for what you are as a collegiate athlete.
Yeah. Look, I tell you, the two, well, not the two, but 2 of the best collegiate quarterbacks I ever saw were not great pros. 2 of the best collegiate quarterbacks I ever saw were Tim Tebow and Kellen Moore. Lefties, by the way. Both of them. I mean, can you find me a handful of better collegiate careers than those 2? Not many, right? And they weren't great pros. So I think, it's okay to be a really good collegiate quarterback, by the way. And what was the kid from Oklahoma, White, that won the Heisman Trophy?
They had the early 2000s, but it was Jason White, and some other guys just put up ridiculous numbers in that offense. Yeah,
Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford.
Yeah. It just didn't work at the pro level, and it's okay. It's okay to be a really good collegiate quarterback. Bad Street sent me an email, Jeff at 610knml.com, says Lancer is the OD answer, Jeff. I'm not sure zapping guys to the ground is the word of mouth advertising IPS is looking for. You might be right. All right, the other story we're talking about today is Lobo men's basketball. They announced yesterday that they are relocating for the next couple of weeks to beautiful St. George, Utah. Maybe you've seen their Chamber of Commerce commercials. Come visit beautiful St. George. That's the home of Dixie State University. In fact, they will play the Trailblazers of Dixie State tomorrow in a game. Dixie State, a new Division I member, currently playing now in the Western Athletic Conference. They had a series against New Mexico State canceled this weekend because the Aggies have their COVID issues. And by the way, Chris Jans spoke about that yesterday.
He just looks like he wants to move on.
Well, he's just how bad do you feel?
What else is there to do? Like, you're trying to keep your team as safe as possible. You're following everything. It's still a global pandemic and a contagious virus. Gets in, you have positive tests, and just got to keep grinding.
You see, when I asked him, like, so what are you guys doing every day? He's just like, man, and he's in his car or he's in a car. But yes, so that's who Dixie State is. And Lobos are going to go play there. So they'll play Dixie State on Wednesday, go take the 2-hour trip to Vegas, play their series at UNLV, then come back to St. George, and that's where they will play San Jose State. JJ, how about all the ops guys? They've got to go, all that stuff that was in Texas, all that signage. Oh, they got to load up that truck and get it from Lubbock over to St. George, Utah.
Yep.
It's a lot of miles they've been putting on the operations staff. All right, Jay, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. What's up, Jay?
Not too much. How you fellas doing this morning?
Good. What's going on?
So I wanted to get in on that quarterback your quarterback conversation here that you guys had a little while ago. And, when you're talking about USC quarterbacks, when you're talking about Alabama, Ohio State, the thing that people don't – the thing is, in college, you have a lot of these quarterbacks have gotten the luxury of throwing to some of the best receivers in college football. So that has a lot to do with it. When you're playing – when you're USC, for instance, when you're Alabama's quarterback and that receiver room was stacked. There was a point where they had – if you think about it, there was a point where the Heisman Trophy winner this year was just a guy on the roster.
That's right. No doubt.
Just a guy that would come in when one of the guys was tired. So, it's hard, and how many first-round picks were out of that receiver room?
I don't know the number, but a bunch, yeah. Probably
right?
4, yeah. No, and there's no doubt. And they're playing against, like when you've got NFL receivers, they may have a DB on the other side that's going to play in the league, but they don't have 3 or 4. And so no matter who they're playing, when you've got these guys running those routes, and by the way, what Sark is drawn up to get them open, yeah, it makes your job easier. And that's why what JJ's been saying, Jay, is the evaluation process is so much more than just watching last night's game on TV.
Right. And the other part, Ohio State, you can say the same. They've had their share of wide receivers who've been really good over the years. They've had Michael Thomas. They've had, just skill position players up and down. And certainly you can say the same with the Big Ten. There are very few teams outside of Ohio State that boast a DB in the league, just even a decent defensive back in the league. So that's, when was the last time Purdue, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Penn State, or Rutgers sent a DB to the league?
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
I can't think of one offhand.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few out there, but yeah.
There are probably a few, certainly, but they don't necessarily roll off the tongue. So, when USC was on their run, you could make that argument as well, that they probably played maybe one guy who was an NFL DB. So, the one thing about quarterback is if you look at where most of these quarterbacks do come from, they don't come from those power programs. They tend to come from, Purdue. They come from, they have one guy from Purdue and Drew Brees. They have
NC State, right, where Rivers, right. It's a really good point, right? Brady came from not a quarterback factory in Michigan. He was draft 6, and Peyton came from Tennessee.
Edward Umland.
Wisconsin, North Carolina State. Yeah, no, your point's right. Oregon's put a couple out there. Yeah. All right.
Right, exactly. All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.
I've taken enough of your time.
No, appreciate you, Jay. So his point, and I think this is the conversation you're making. The evaluation process is way more than you and I as lay people, and a guy who just watches a few games and maybe even watched a few Alabama games. You got 4 NFL receivers out there, at least 3 for Alabama, and yeah, he's got an embarrassment of riches. He had more weapons than Fields did. Fields was hurt, by the way. Fields is playing a better defense. So how do you evaluate him? You get out and you look at the tape and you look at the mechanics and you get him out. That's what the whole underwear Olympics are when we do the combines here in Indianapolis next month. And that's how it is. Well, yeah, if you want to just evaluate on last night's game, yeah, one guy was better than the other last night.
And also, these guys aren't drafted just because they come from these programs. I think there's been a difference over the last few years. Joe Burrow asserted himself above everyone else. And by the way, while it's not 4, he's going to have 2 first-round wide receivers because Jamar Chase is going to be drafted in the first round this year, as Justin Jefferson was last year for LSU. But with Tua, these guys are peaking differently. So the point is right. These programs are loaded with talent, but guys aren't going to those quarterbacks. There's been a different crop of quarterbacks. Ohio State, even when Cardale Jones won the national championship, he wasn't viewed as a first-round pick. So, and that's the thing. It's like, yeah, they haven't had the track record, but they're also just not going to these programs to go there. There's been something different about these last few guys coming through in these high-profile SEC offenses. And you could also make the argument in the other ways. You want to take a chance on a quarterback that might not have all the weapons around him, but is very good at the collegiate level. Because that's you run down the list and look where all these guys came from. You know, there used to be this stereotype on the spread offense. Well, now it's absolutely everywhere, and you want those quarterbacks. You want quarterbacks with athleticism, and there's not one place to go for any player in college.
Your starting quarterbacks in the league come from Mississippi State. Where'd Daniel Jones come from?
Duke.
All right. Mississippi State, Duke, North Dakota State. I don't even know who would you say Washington's guys. Right now it's Old Dominion, right? Did Trubisky come out of NC State? Where did Trubisky? North Carolina, Georgia, Cal, Michigan State, Boston College, Louisville, Purdue, Michigan, Oklahoma, Cal, Eastern Illinois, Wisconsin, Oregon, Fresno State, Texas Tech. Where did Drew Lock go to school?
Missouri,
Texas A&M. Jacksonville doesn't have a quarterback right now, right? Give me one. Mike Glennon, NC State.
Pac-12.
or Gardner Minshew, Washington State. North Carolina State, Louisville. No, wait, where did Deshaun Watson go?
Clemson.
That's what Lamar Jackson was, Louisville. LSU, Oklahoma, Miami of Ohio, USC, Auburn, Alabama, and Wyoming. I think I said 2 schools twice. That's it. There's no factory. I think I said, and you were everywhere from Duke to Miami of Ohio to North Dakota State to Fresno State.
All across the United States.
Quarterbacks come from everywhere, right? I mean, it's like literally Eastern Illinois, Alabama, USC, Miami of Ohio, LSU, Fresno State. Like if you can play, what they tell you, if you can play, they're going to find you, right? Quarterbacks have come from everywhere. 505-246-0610. Back to your opinions. Love to hear them. I got a bunch more on what happened last night. And you're in on the Lobos a lot today, too. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 670 Sports Animal.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Shoot. They'll get one off, and it'll count high off the window.
Oh my gosh.
There's a long 3.
Boom.
Bang. Martinez will beat the buzzer. Got it to go.
Fork driving kick. 3's in the air. It's good.
Pass on the nice block by Hernandez Cropper.
And Brown in the transition. But why not, Steve? Is Corbalon's going to go and he puts it away. And Corbalon wants to put it down. Here comes Screechers. Brown, you can't leave him alone. Put it down.
on in transitions. 3-on-2. Gershon going to go all the way. Whoa, Morgan. Played over to Madrid. Plays it across the box off the dasher. It's settled. Shot on by Garcia. Trickles in. Goal.
Chavez blocked at the rim. And here's Dorian Lewis to Watson.
Shot on and just wide. Big deflection. Goal.
Over this first field goal. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Not a game you can go have 25 turnovers in and win.
Get that out of here, Watson says. Here comes Hodnett all the way. He's blocked in return. Dickey, did he get it off? He did, and he hit it.
Jones steps up right down the middle of the field. It's touchdown. Devontae Smith cannot be stopped. A truly special performance by the Heisman Trophy winner. 3 touchdowns in the first half.
In the first half, then he had a finger injury and went out. 215 yards, 12 catches, and 3 touchdowns for the Heisman Trophy winner in Alabama's 52-24 victory over Ohio State to win the national championship. That was courtesy of ESPN and Chris Fowler on the call. JJ, your buddy Ned James reminds me that quarterbacks come from Texas or California, period. That every quarterback in the playoffs is from Texas or California except for Lamar Jackson, period. They all come from Texas and California. A lot of them do. Like the majority of them, I get it.
Texas high school football and Cali population.
Yeah, well, and it must be decent football in Cali if they're all coming from there too, though. I mean, you can give me all the numbers you want. They must be decent football. But, yeah, he's right. Like, that's where the population is. That's where the football is. Not a lot coming from North Dakota and New Mexico. It's crazy how that happens, isn't it? 505-246-0610. Jeff,
Yet.
JJ, Micah. Yet.
Don't count out QB5.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. That's right. He's going to be Lobos are going to be national championships in 3 years.
But ProView should be on that, like, right now, getting the documentary rolling. QB5.
Yeah.
It all started right here. Right.
Narrated by JJ Buck. What if I told you?
We'll give you a call, JJ. I mean, it's in the works. We'll give you a call.
It's in the works. We got to get the equipment first.
Yeah.
All right. Edward, good morning. Thanks for holding. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Hello, Edward.
What a delightful day to be on the hotline. I'm privileged and I feel honored. Is this Meadowlark Siembieda that got the all exclusive and tough to get triple single for the Generals?
I got a triple
single. Did you get the triple single that night?
Totally did. Yep. We lost,
that's
though.
Such an awesome story.
You know, you play to win the game. It pissed me off. We lost. I really wanted to win.
You know, that reminds me, I'll never forget the night in 1985 or 86 playoffs when Michael Jordan and I teamed up to score 63 against that great Celtics team. Jordan had 63. Thought I'd share that with you.
Yeah.
That's a cool story, by the way. And Edward James, you know, that's one of the few things that he says that I actually agree with. Because the great, Sean, this is for you, by the way. All those great Scotch recommendations, and I love your calls, and I hype you up, and the committee is considering you for the Hall of Fame. The great Thomas Edward Brady's from California and grew up a San Francisco 49ers fan, which a well-known fact was he was at the 1981 NFC Championship catch game rooting for the San Francisco 49ers.
Correct.
How's that for a twist of fate?
That is the true story.
That is awesome. And rumor has it he cried the whole time because his dad wouldn't buy him one of those foam fingers. Now he's the greatest player in the history of the game. That's phenomenal.
And he gave his dad the foam finger, if you know what I mean.
Oh man! Now we have thunder sticks, right? Yes. And cotton candy wigs, as my son states. By the way, we're going to bring that to fruition: cotton candy wigs, because it's both fashionable and edible. I was going to say the quarterback rating system in the NCAA. It's not only the skill set of the receivers and the running backs; it's the offensive lines. Those guys stand back there at their major programs for 5 or 6 seconds, and there's no one even remotely close to them within 5 or 6 yards. In the NFL, you get about 2.5 seconds, and you're going to get hit by 3 guys. So these guys stand back there, have a ham sandwich, assess the field, and then they dump off, and they throw it to a guy that runs a 4.17. He breaks a tackle, boom, 70 yards. I think that's a huge component of the offensive lines are so dominant. Did you see number 63 last night, that road graver? That guy, he's a future Hall of Famer. I mean, he was just clearing paths for everybody. But, yeah, it's not an exact science, and it's interesting how it all plays out. You know what's unfortunate about college football? It's gone by the way of a women's college basketball. There's essentially 3 teams that are going to play for the championship, right? There's UConn, and then there was Notre Dame for women's college basketball. UConn, Stanford had a pretty good run. Then there's Notre Dame, and then there was Tennessee back in the day. So you kind of know it's all chalk. When we get to the NCAA tournament for women, all the number 1 seeds make the Final Four. We kind of know what's going to happen. And it's losing a little bit of my interest in general, college football, because we kind of know what's going to happen. It's going to be one of 3 teams, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State sneaks in. Notre Dame plays their schedule and gets whacked. And it's okay. It's entertainment, and we're lucky to have it. But I just found it interesting and fascinating. Speaking of statistical anomalies, how about this guy that played in the wild card round for the Indianapolis Colts? And this weekend, he's going to play for the Green Bay Packers. He was able to get picked up by the Packers because he was on the practice squad. So he plays for one playoff team this past Saturday or Sunday, whenever they played, and then now he gets to play in the divisional round for the Green Bay Packers. Is that not phenomenal?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, just go to the ESPN homepage, and there was an update on ESPN last night, and he'll probably start this weekend, right? Because I think Bakhtiari got hurt, and they made some shifts on the offensive line. So, and maybe next week, whoever wins that game, maybe he can get picked up and play in the AFC or NFC title game.
Keep losing. Yep, keep losing.
Anyway, I certainly appreciate your guys' time. And Metal Lark Siembieda, I might seek out an autograph at some point, and maybe a cotton candy wig.
Yeah, it was more.
You guys have a delightful day.
See ya. More curly Neil, but that's all right. I don't know. Is it predictable? It probably is. JJ, is college football? Do you have a pretty good idea who's going to be there at the end? You got a pretty good idea it's going to be Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, and somebody else in the playoff. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Maybe LSU 1 year, maybe Auburn 1 year. Maybe they'll throw a Pac-12 team at you 1 year. Oklahoma bounces around, but you got a pretty good idea. Fair enough to say that there's probably 8 to 10 teams who have a chance when the season starts, right?
And that's why I think at the end of this cycle, 5 years left.
There's 5 years left.
The CFP deal, it's addressed not because you have to go out there and beat those teams. Like, I'm not mad that Alabama or Clemson or Ohio State teams are there because they're out recruiting everybody, because they can sell. You want to win a championship, then you come here. But I think for the sport of college football, why I think ultimately it will expand its opportunity and interest. Now, if you lose in the first round, so be it. But you'll have a Big 12 team, or you'll have a Pac-12 team there. Like, conferences will have something to play for if you sneak a Group of 5 representative into the postseason, because you still got to beat these teams. Like, if Alabama and Clemson end up being the best teams, so be it. But I just think it's just about interest level about the playoff. And my whole thing is it can happen, and you can keep the integrity of the bowl system, because I think at the end of this 5-year system, the college football playoff needs to get away from the bowl system. Like, that needs to be standalone. And then you have your Rose Bowl, you have your Fiesta Bowl, you have your Orange Bowl, not CFP semifinal played in the Rose Bowl. Like, let the CFP do its thing, and then the bowls can continue to be the bowls.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think one makes the other stronger, certainly internally. And if you completely separate them, I think it hurts the bowl system. And so you know where I stand on that.
But why would it hurt the other bowls?
Because it would be separating. To separate the two basically says, here's where it is, and then here's like a minor league. You know, we got the playoff, and then we got this other stuff over here. And so I don't know that it hurts one. Like why does it hurt the CFP to be part of the bowl system?
I think it just doesn't make sense. You have your Rose Bowl, but it's not the Rose Bowl because it's a CFP semifinal this season and not the Pac-12 versus Big Ten, however it may be. I think the systems can be
traditional
together. Because I don't think a lot of people out there looking down on all these other games, if they have that feeling, if the CFP wasn't a part of it, because I think it's you're playing for a national championship, and there's a difference between playing a CFP semifinal than Boca Raton Tart Cherry Bowl.
Fair enough. What do you think happens?
Sponsor, but whatever it is.
You know, I think we're looking at the dominance of the dynasty. How much longer does Nick Saban do this? And what does Oklahoma win? What does Alabama when Nick Saban leaves? Alabama was not this juggernaut, and it's really kind of hard to remember Alabama before this, right? With Dennis Franchione and Mike Price for a minute, and Mike Shula and the coaches that they had before. Like, they had their run, but between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, they were not this Alabama. Whoever goes in there next to try to continue this dominance is going to have one hell of a job. And you're going to say, what a great job. And yeah, but man, you better win at that level. And I think Nick Saban is special. It's going to be hard to find that guy who goes in there and does it next.
It's going to be impossible to keep it at the level Nick Saban has it at.
I think that's right.
And so Alabama is going to be, once Nick Saban leaves, Alabama could be churning through coaches every 3 or 4 years because they're still going to be chasing that ceiling that is Nick Saban. And it's the John Wooden UCLA scenario where, like, well, this is what we should be. Well, fantastic. You know, you can be there, but to do it consistently year in and year out is like special and something that's not going to happen decades over decades over decades. Yeah. To me right now, though, it does look like, though, that Nick Saban is still all in and loves the process of it.
No doubt. You could have someone who goes in there and wins a national championship once in 5 years and gets fired. And I look at what just happened at Auburn. And, you know, I thought he did a decent job at Auburn. They had a down year in this crazy year, and they make a move down there, right? Because Alabama's beat them a few times in a row. They haven't been to the playoff. And Brian Harsin goes in there, and I think Brian Harsin's got a tough job now. And you got to win, and you got to win quickly, and you got to win at a big, big level. Bigger level than you won at Boise State, by the way. I think you're right. It's going to be really hard. I just think what he's doing there is so unbelievably special, and I think we've got to a point where we think, well, that's just Alabama. It is, but it wasn't that way. You know, it was Mike Price for a summer, Dennis Franchione, Mike Shula. I see the man. I mean, there were a number of coaches in there before, and it didn't work at this level. And what they're doing now is insane, and that's all credit to that man.
Jeff, I have something I want to bounce off you on the other side with the college football playoff, which is not just about expansion. It's a larger question when it comes to athletes in college football. I want to see your response because it was a hot topic on the social media last night.
All right, 505-246-0610. We'll do that when we come back on the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Staples.
Played over to Madrid. Plays it across the box off the dasher. It's settled. Shot up by Garcia. Trickles in. Goal.
Chavez blocked at the rim. And here's Dorian Lewis to Watson.
Shot on and just wide. Big deflection. Goal.
Go with this first field goal. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Not a game you can go have 25 turnovers in and win.
Get that out of here, Watson says. Here comes Hodnett all the way. He's blocked in return. Dickey, did he get it off? He did, and he hit it. They're really... Oliveras. Wild three, and it hit.
Another steal nearly by Hiron. It is a steal. Avalos ahead to Hiron. The two-hand hammer by Hiron. I knew he was going to put that one down.
ProView Networks tonight.
District mashup there.
Davidson took it away in transition. Might be time for a jam. Yes.
Oh!
Big Barton, watch him, coach. Watch the inbounder.
Dumas Sanchez in the corner.
Back to Barton with 2.4 seconds left. Fires for the win.
And he got it!
It's good.
Oh my God!
On the last second shot.
He did.
Oh my God! Banks it in from 25 feet and watch the celebration right in front of us. What a shot by Barton. He was double teamed and somehow found a way to get it in. Ramos to Gaxiola, high window for the win. It's good. It counts. Gaxiola with the game winner for a Driscoll Heritage.
Opportunity here. Martinez shoots, he scores.
Got into it. Had some nice looks at the rim. Win. Inside. They're not going to miss this one. Two-hand hammer for Murillo.
Ball's played up. Rodriguez with it. Gonna settle. Looks to the inside. Comes to the far side push. Shot on aim. Goal. Deflected in. No.
Dorian's gonna go all the way. It was blocked by the rim. Get it out, says Kobe Wade. Ramos, get it. Look out. Ramos, can he chase it down? It was a freebie. Saved it. And then stolen. And somehow Hasbury's got it back. Handoff. Watson.
Stripped. Daniel stripped him. Come Highland the other way. Win up top. To
Bryant slugged that guy from Clemson in the bowl game and didn't coach again. Do you know how many national championships Alabama won between Paul Bear Bryant and Nick Saban?
0.
They won one, 1992, with Gene Stallings. But after Bear Bryant was Ray Perkins, then Bill Curry, Gene Stallings, Mike DuBose, Dennis Franchione, Mike Price came in for that summer, Mike Shula, Joe Kynes for a day, and then Nick Saban. One. So they weren't. There was basically a run from 1982 through 2007, it's 25 years, where 82, 92, 25 years, where they were good, but they weren't this. And then Nick Saban came in, and now they're the juggernaut. So what happens afterwards is a question. Is he built something that just can't be destroyed? And I think we all know there's nothing like that. And so what happens afterwards, and how does it stay? Is that, somebody else is opening at Ole Miss or at LSU or at Auburn or at Ohio State or at Clemson, what Dabo's got going? Because you figure Dabo's going to be there a while, right? So I know we take it as a given, and sure enough it is. But how long does it last? And that's all. It wasn't always that way, and it's been that way for the last decade. So it's the opening drive. Jeff, JJ, Micah, and Josh. 505-246-0610.
So last night there was a question going around the interwebs, on the Twitter, the social media, with not just the idea about college football expanding your playoffs just for opportunity, but would it change recruiting if the college football playoff expanded and knew for sure, all right, boom, these are the conference champs that get in. This is going to be your opportunity. Would that help recruiting overall? Because players are still going to go to Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State regardless. Does it help at all spread talent out if there's a different path across the land?
So is the concept, if you know that a Pac-12 team or a Big 10 team is going to, or Big 12 team is going to get in every year, instead of going and sitting behind four guys at Alabama, would you go to SC, or would you go to Oklahoma, or would you go to Boise State? Is that kind of the conversation?
Yes. Does it help spread out the talent? Because those teams are still going to be at the top of the recruiting rankings. Like, you're still going to get the dudes. Does it change at all everyone else? Like, do you get a couple more guys going to different places? Because I'm not sure I totally buy it, but it was a hot topic last night throughout the game.
I don't think it makes a difference. Like would it sway a guy here or there? I imagine. I don't think it enough that it makes a difference. No. I guess the concept is you're coaching at SC and saying, hey, you're going to go play behind four guys there. You got a better chance to play behind the two here, and knowing that, if we win our league, we're in the playoff, we can get those guys. And I think the players still look at him going, yeah, but they're still going to kick our ass, right? I mean, right? Because, I look at what, over the years, JJ, when I was growing up, USC was a better program than Alabama. It wasn't arguable, right? I mean, and you look at the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, SC and Alabama were right there. And certainly through the 80s, SC was. West Coast football, West Coast college football has struggled. Give me the word. I mean, they're not irrelevant. I don't think they're irrelevant. You've had your teams. I think there's been some good Oregon teams, some good Washington teams, some good USC teams, Boise State, I guess. But what has happened? So would that help? I'm going along about way. Would that help? I just don't think it would, to be honest with you. I don't think that's a reason to do it or to not do it. I mean, to me, it's not a reason to go ahead and say, yeah, then expand it to 8. I mean, I think the Alabamas and the Clemsons would go, well, why the hell are we doing that, right? Interesting conversation. I don't think I buy it.
Yeah, I wasn't sold on it. I mean, it's an intriguing idea. Like, if all right, this is how you get in. This is the guaranteed for the power conferences to at-large bids and the Group of 5 representative. Does it help spread it out? Ultimately, if you're recruiting at a high level, you're still going to be doing that regardless. So it was an interesting thing that really was picking up a lot of momentum. And it's one thing that you might be tired of this team winning, but you got to go out there and beat them. You got to find a way to do it. And it's not like Alabama's won every year, but they're in position to win every single year. It was another thought process, that crossed my mind about it, going, do kids stay somewhere else? I think I wasn't totally on board with it. And ultimately, got to do it on the field, regardless of whatever way you get in, got to win that game.
JJ, look, with all due respect to what's going on, somebody else can win. Where was Clemson 10 years ago? Like, honestly, what was Clemson 10 years ago? And you don't have to like Dabo Swinney, but what he's built there is a relatively new powerhouse. Clemson football was not a powerhouse 10, 15 years ago, and now they are. And I look around and I'm like, well, why can't that be done I know Texas is saying, what has happened to us? I know Nebraska thinks they should be able to do it there. I know Michigan thinks they should be able to do it there with Jim Harbaugh. Why can't they do it at USC or Oregon? And the answer to me tends to be parity. Who else in the ACC is pushing Clemson? Okay, but they're winning at a national level. They've won national championships, right? They've beaten Alabama. So that to me tells me they've gotten above just the parity in their league, or whatever parity was in their league. The Pac-12 hasn't had a team excel to that level. Big 12 almost has with Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma's been the team over the last decade that's just shown that consistency, although this year, well, they won it again this year. Why isn't there a West Coast team doing that? Because what was done at Clemson, JJ, I mean, you would look at that. If you're SC, if you're Oregon, if you're Washington, hell, if you're Stanford's got that academic restrictions, Arizona State, aren't you looking at that and saying, why can't we do that? Look what we've got.
Why not us?
And that's why I've been waiting for something like that to burgeon out west. And there's a part of me that's why I thought Urban Meyer was going to go to SC. I thought that was going to be last year's offseason move. Clay Helton was going to get fired and Urban Meyer was going to go to SC. But who was Dabo Swinney when he took over that? Did you ever foresee that 10, 15 years ago? Because I sure as hell didn't. So it can happen. How? It's got to take the right people. 505-246-0610. Give you some of your thoughts on the Lobos when we get back. It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 670 Sports Animal and ProView Networks.
Good morning, everyone. Let's go. It is time to do our sweet deal.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Rise and fire. He's fouled.
You know, he used to coach for Del Norte. And
here's Voss all the way with the finish. He'll get the. Behind the back of the dribble. Tries to go up with the right hand. He changed hands in midair. And Hotnet sent it away. Wynn doing a really good job denying Chavez. DC hasn't got the ball. Oh, Yeku! Oh! Working against Watson. Oh, look at the spin move.
ball's loose. DJ Bustos brings it up. Barnes Tompkins, alley-oop. How about it? That was redunculous.
Over. Cable to the big fella might try to jam on home.
that ball stolen. Jeremy Segura.
Forward dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass, wrap around pass.
Harris, Legate, the long bomb, 3 ball.
Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores.
A whole little jump step in the... And look out, here comes Agbayosi, Crawford set.
Alabama 52, Ohio State 24. That's 24 for all y'all who are single-lingual. Is that even a term, single-lingual? If you're multilingual, what would you be if you only speak one? Single-lingual?
Single-lingual.
I'm just asking. I never even thought of that before. All right, Jeff, JJ, Micah, and Josh, glad you're with us today. We've been talking about the Alabama win last night. What does it mean long term? We talked a lot about Nick Saban's legacy and what does it mean for Justin Fields, Mac Jones, the incredible performance of the first half by Devontae Smith, who won the Offensive Player of the Game, who won the Heisman Trophy, who is just brilliant. I saw Jerry Jeudy tweet, JJ, that Devontae Smith's the best college receiver we've ever seen. Saying a lot. He's pretty damn good. He's pretty damn good. What kind of pro is he? He's undersized. He's a slot guy. He's underneath. And again, I told you this about quarterbacks. And I think he's going to be a good pro, by the way. But there's nothing wrong with being a good college player. But how does he translate? Like, do you take him number 2 overall if you're the Jets? Do you say, damn, he's that good? Or does he translate to being a great pro because he's not that quintessential big, strong, go-get-him receiver?
100% he translates. 100%. DK Metcalf, crazy. Julio Jones, crazy. Antonio Brown's not that dude.
That's great. Yeah, Antonio Brown's the guy. That's
Torrey Holt. And how about LeBron James coming in with the comparison last night? He said Devontae Smith is a Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison hybrid. I'm
There's
like,
that
works.
Yeah, that was good. I saw that. That was good. Yeah, he's terrific and he's quick. He's got insane hands.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill's small. Yeah. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill's speed, but he's got speed. But yeah, all of those. So he translates. So how high do you go with him? I mean, is he a top 5? You think he is? Okay.
I think if no question in my mind, if Miami holds serve, they take him at 3.
Okay. Who do the Jets take it to? You think they go with the line? Because they need playmakers now. They got Brashard Perriman.
He can go 2 or 3 in this draft.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, I think he can too. All right. The other thing we're talking about, and I've got a bunch of emails on Louisville basketball. Louisville basketball is going to be in St. George, Utah for the next couple of weeks. That'll be their base. That is where Dixie State is. They will play Dixie State tomorrow. Dixie State, a member of the Western Athletic Conference. In fact, we're supposed to play the Aggies this weekend, but because of the Aggies' COVID issues, the series with New Mexico State got canceled. So they'll play New Mexico Wednesday. Then the Lobos will take the 2-hour bus ride over the mountain and play their series at UNLV, come back to St. George, Utah, a much shorter trip than go back to Lubbock, and be in Dixie-Kirky and play San Jose State at Dixie State for their series then. I like the idea. Look, they're doing what they got to do. They're creative. They're finding ways to make it happen in a highly imperfect situation. So let me start with the emails on it. John says, well, guys, I've been hearing how beat up, tired, hit the wall. We got to give a better effort. And then, we just scheduled a game with Dixie State. Well, I can see getting in another game, but after hearing all the other stuff, is this an effort to just win a game and maybe get a little momentum going? Well, I hope it does the trick and works out, because if it backfires, ... I'm not going to say it, but if it happens, there goes any hope for this season. Oh, by the way, good morning and go Lobos. It's from John. I don't know what your hope for this season is. Like, honestly. You're 3-6, you're 0-6 in the league, you're losing by an average of 26 points a game. Whatever your hope is fine. I don't know that this game, and I'll tell you this, I said this in the first hour, and I know our audience turns over. This is not Our Lady of the Lake. This is a team that's won all their home games. They're a team in the WAC. They're not great. I'm not telling you they're Duke. I'm not. But I'm telling you they're a hell of a lot more like you than you think they are. I think you win the game, but it will not stun me if you don't beat Dixie State tomorrow.
And that's just the issues with Lobo basketball this season. Is you're looking at a game with Dixie State going, well, I'm not too sure about this one. And to John's point, yeah, they hit a wall, but it was also, what's the next step? And this is a part of the next step, not just playing a game, but having a new home base for the next week and a half, 2 weeks. So it's a larger picture process. This team, hopefully, they used the last couple of days to think about their situation, ask themselves, what are we going to continue to give? What can we get out of this? And then it's on the Dixie State Mountain West play in 2 weeks in St. George, Utah.
Yep. And that's what you look. Just give them credit for making this happen. And I think most of you are. By the way, most of you are. How hard it is to do what they're doing, and even for Lobo football, they went and they knew. Boom. They had a home. They had a place to practice that they didn't have to share with anybody else until the very end. They had a place to stay. They knew what they were doing. Like, boom, we're here for 7 weeks. Boom. Lobo basketball's all over the place, man. And it's not any fault of their own. And they're still trying to figure out how to get back into New Mexico, by the way. So having just moved a bowl game, I know a fraction of what they're going through, and I didn't have to move all the people and all the pieces. I know how hard these things are. Give them credit for finding a way to get this done. And I know some of you think it shouldn't be done, and I disagree with you respectfully. But give them credit for finding a way. And this is right, and this was creative, and they found a place that's closer to where they're going to be for the next weekend, and then come back and play and cut their travel. And I mean, to me, it's kudos. Carl says, loving the St. George breeze, Jeff. I know Dixie State is a glorified practice you'd expect to see on the schedule in November, but this gives Weir a chance to tighten things up before his next 2 critical series. I hope they're not looking at it that way. And I don't think they are. I just don't think they are. JJ, do you know when classes start? Micah, you might know. When do classes start over at UNM?
It's supposed to be the 19th.
Yeah, that MLK Day, like after.
The 19th is next Wednesday, isn't it?
So that's what Danny was talking about. That's kind of the date they're targeting. So I don't know if it's when just football is hoping to come back or when the semester is starting.
So MLK Day is the 18th. So then that's Monday, next Monday. So it should be after that.
Yeah.
All right. Sarah says, what happened to student athletes, Jeff? Classes are revving up. Seriously, or supposedly. What's that? I didn't hear what you said to me. Oh, supposedly 20% classes that are either all in person or hybrid. Aren't any of these athletes enrolled in any of these? You can't just ship guys around like a bad child to a relative's house or whoever is willing to take them in for the next 3 months. It's from Sarah. You kind of can. I'm going to guess all their classes are online. I'm going to guess this is part of the process of what they're doing. I would say, what's the alternative? And I understand what the alternative is. Don't play. And Sarah, they're doing what they got to do. I'm going to guess that the student part of the student athlete is being taken care of in regards to online classes and doing it virtually.
And it gives them something to do now instead of just sitting idly in a hotel room. You get to go to class.
Yeah, I wonder what's a nicer room. I'm going to guess it's nicer to look out the window in St. George, Utah than it is in Lubbock. I'm just aesthetically. I don't know. Matt says Dixie State. I don't know who is laughing about Dixie State. Frankly, I think it's a toss-up. This is possibly the worst Lobo basketball team I've ever seen. I agree with your comments yesterday, Jeff, and I think we all thought this team would be at least competitive. And I understand the lack of practice time and having to relocate, et cetera, but these guys seem to be getting worse, and they aren't just losing. They're getting blued out all over the place. Paul Weir might have the COVID year excuse and get a pass were it not for the complete collapse and lack of program control the previous year. Oh, and the horrible end to the season the year before that. Crazy enough, his best year was with a team he didn't recruit. I think we were all hopeful after year one. Paul Weir, PhD, just don't know that stood for pretty horrible defense. It's from Matt. See what he did there? Pretty horrible defense. I'm going to tell you something. Matt's sentiment is what I hear more than any other. Now, I'm not telling you it's right. I'm not telling you it's wrong. I'm telling you it's the most prevalent sentiment that I hear, and I hear quite a variety of Lobo fans on a regular basis. And my phone rings just to talk Lobos. I do this for 3 hours a day. We get all kinds of comments. Are you hearing, is that kind of where you are with the majority of Lobo fans that you hear?
Yeah, it is a common sentiment with just the feeling overall. And there's not the disdain, as I know you like to really what's recent, what we've seen, the end of the Craig Neal era, which was, there's like venom started to be spewed because of the Colin Neal stuff. And then some fans really lost their mind, and you got to question, like, all right, what are we doing here if you're going to treat an athlete like that? It's just a lot of people kind of just see the writing on the wall and don't see a better ending to the same story.
Yeah, and the same trajectory. That first year, there was hope with the team that was somewhat inherited, although not completely. I mean, if you look at that roster, there was a lot of new on that team. I think what's bothering a lot of people, well, hell, there's a lot of things. Getting blued out every night's killing people. And the fact that it's new every year. And JJ, you and I have completely accepted the transfer portal. 10 new players a year is probably extreme, right?
Yes, it's not ideal. It also was going to be a tough situation regardless.
That's right. I don't know what your choices were.
2 players kicked off the team.
Yeah.
And so I guess you could say bring Vance Jackson back, and there's just 9 new faces instead of 10. And so it was a tough situation because that's where the decisions he made. Those were his players. Fortunately, things happened off the court which took them away from the team. There's a lot of character issues, so they tried to do a 180. You have a lot of young players, but then that means development. And and when you haven't had that payoff, which we've talked so much about, and you haven't had that moment where, like, oh, I believe, I see where it's going, that when they get to a point where it is like, all right, we're kind of reestablishing the foundation, people are like, what am I waiting for?
Mm-hmm. All right, I got more. I want to hear your reaction, too. You can still get in on Alabama and Ohio State as well. 505-246-0610. What's good? I don't know, what day is today? Tuesday? It's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610 Sports Animal.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up off the middle, got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
Option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds, into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown, Portel.
The outside of running an out route. Davis in the play action, looking. He's going to go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown. So Davison back to toss it. He's got all day. It's one miss, and
We can get into the NFL, too. We haven't even touched on Doug Peterson getting fired by the Philadelphia Eagles. Dan Quinn is the new defensive coordinator of some of your Dallas Cowboys. I think it's a great hire by them. It's the opening drive. Jeff Siembieda and J.J. Buck. Josh produces on ProView Networks, where you can watch the show, ProViewNetworks.com, or on our Facebook page, the OD in the AM. Micah with his hair up today. Big day for him. You gonna cut that hair? So what do you like? Honestly, you're gonna now that Trevor Lawrence is leaving college, you're gonna cut it like cut it like JJ cut. Like both of you have your hair up, which is kind of cool. I'm jealous. I have hair envy. But I mean, how short are you gonna cut it?
I don't know. It's getting to the point where it's so long. It's like, how long do I just let it go before I just got to make a change at some point? And maybe I'll just cut it off. And like you mentioned during the break, I'll make it into a wig for you, and so you can have some hair.
What do you think?
You got to find that balance, because you don't want to turn into Justin Herbert where you get a haircut and you're like, why is a 12-year-old quarterback in your Los Angeles
not that short.
You still got to have the locks, good flow. And now you go from Trevor Lawrence Clemson quarterback to Trevor Lawrence Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback. So.
Is that going to be a haircut?
Got to make a change for the new job as the Jacksonville quarterback.
You're leaving us? Oh, okay. He's leaving us. I just want to make sure you're leaving. Do we need a new producer? Josh, you got anybody? Like, who's next? Lance?
Or just have Josh do both. I think.
Yeah, we can press a couple extra buttons.
I'm just asking. I mean, Hoser came out, right? Hoser used to call. He became producer. Then, I mean, Lance?
Lance is in. Yeah.
Sean? Grady? I'm just on Mike.
By the way, we're not looking for a new producer. We appreciate him each and every day.
Yeah, it's probably bad. All right, I got more emails. Brant said, we've seen the last of Lubbock, Jeff, with only 2 home series left after San Jose State, San Diego State, and Wyoming. I see very little need to go back to West Texas for those. It's hard to get to. That might be true. So maybe you'll find somewhere, let's see, closer to Laramie or closer to San Diego. Who knows, man? I mean, whatever they're doing, good for them, and they're doing it, and they're figuring it out. This is from Rod. He says, who is Lobo basketball's Trey Kell, Jefferson? Remember a couple of years ago in the playoffs, the Aztecs were dead, and he put San Diego State on his back and carried them to a Mountain West championship? I think Lobo fan thought Quach Malawach was going to be that kind of player, but if he is, he sure didn't show it in Lubbock. 14-6 isn't a bad night for most cats in the league. But until other guys step up, Lobo basketball needs more from Malawach. Look, I think this is such a rough. If that's your stance on Malawach, I think it's unfair. He's not that guy. Like, with all due respect, he's a good player. He's a good Lobo. He's a 4-year guy. If you're expecting him and I think you are, because he's the best you got, but to expect him to carry your team and especially carry this team, where there's not that much more around him, to carry you to be something special, I just think that's unfair.
I agree. Malawach is the perfect number 2 or number 3. Like, if he's your third option, you're feeling really good about your team. You're like, wow, okay, we got something. Unfortunately, for him being the number 1 guy, it's just not his skill set. Like, it's still a really good basketball player. He's a 1,000-point scorer in his 4-year career. He has evolved from, just a long guy in the perimeter that had some nice moments as a freshman to just a really good overall basketball player. And I agree. I think it's a frustration where you want to see more because you need more, but you're also still getting a good player, just not a lot of good stuff around him.
Yeah, I just know who he is. And I get it, he's probably the best you got. But that's not a guy who's just going to go nuts and put a team on his back and carry. I think that's asking way too much. And I think that's, in large respect, what some people expected. And that's not who that guy is. That's not taking anything from him, because I think he's a terrific player, and I think he's a better young man. I really like who he's been as a Lobo. I've loved watching his maturation. The way he's handled himself. If you had 5 of those guys or 10 of those guys, you'd win a lot of games, don't you think?
Yeah, I think things still need to run through Malawach a lot more. I'd like to see him even be, initiator, say high post, running things out of that, and where he can attack the basket, use his mid-range game, get other people involved. So I think there's that option where he still can be a major focal point in this team, but he's not a guy that is going to go out there and be able to just take over offensively, get you 20, 25 every other night, and be the focal point scorer.
Yeah. All right, Gopher says, Lobo basketball is in a bad place right now, Jeffy, because when was the last time the OD got a call from Brutus or from Leroy? It's fair. I got an email from Brutus. It was actually like way out of showtime, so I forgot to read it, but I got one recently. Grady says, today is a good day. Get him out on the court, and he's trouble. Last week messed around and got a triple single. That's right. Well, I didn't get enough minutes in that game to get a triple-double. I mean, it's not like, my triple single in that game was something, because it's not like I got a lot of minutes when I was playing for the Washington Generals against the Globetrotters. I was bummed that we lost, because you know why, Micah? You play to win the game. But with all that, yeah.
And it wasn't on you. It's just the Generals are cursed as a franchise, so that's not on you. You're the all-star.
They're cursed. That's right. Brian, David, I made a mistake, and I apologize, and thank you for calling me on it. Jeff, he says Woody Hayes from Ohio State's the coach that punched the player from Clemson, not Bear Bryant. Now, you're 100% right, and I knew it when I said it, and I remember watching it in my grandmother's kitchen in New York back in the day, and it was just amazing. It was Woody Hayes who punched that player from Clemson. Yeah, 100% right, my mistake, and I own it, and I knew it when it came out of my mouth, and I apologize. Rod says, tough decisions this week, right, Jefferson? High school sports are now scheduled to begin in less than 3 weeks. Lobo baseball just days after that. We need a definitive decision on their seasons in the next few days, right? We're out of time. Coaches need to start bumping them together to get them ready. We no longer have the luxury of pushing those tough decisions off another month. Lobo baseball is going to be an interesting one, JJ. There's a schedule. I thought there's a couple of models out. One of them is a 36-game schedule to play Mountain West baseball. And obviously right now Lobo baseball can't play at home. I don't believe that they've got the funds, the resources to go bubble. But if they're going to play all their series on the road, would you consider them all bubbles? Would they come back? From what I understand, Lobo baseball is planning on playing. Now, I don't know exactly what that looks like, where, how. Obviously, nothing's happened here right now. Now, I do know that Eddie's still trying to figure out a way to get his teams allowed to play. I think he's still trying for basketball and certainly, baseball. But we're coming up on that quick, aren't we? We're coming up on it real quick, and there's a Mountain West schedule out that has New Mexico on the Mountain West baseball schedule.
All you can do is plan, hope, and adjust.
Yeah, well, we'll see where that goes. On baseball, Sid says a nervous Dukes honcho was on Bob Clark yesterday, and John Traub was saying 50-50 and maybe 25% capacity at the sports stadium. When all last year we heard no games without fans, it sounds like he's just begging for the governor to throw him a bone. At this point, are they looking into being the St. George Dukes or the Lubbock Dukes for the 2021 season? If not, they may want to start making some calls. That's going to be an interesting one, too. Because the Ice Tips made it very clear, they can't just have a season in an empty stadium. They can't afford that. United's coming up quick. Well, I mean, we're roundabout, man. We're coming up on a year on this thing. March 11th, March 12th, when everything shut down? We're coming up on round 2 of these things. We've lost basically a whole high school sports season, whole calendar in this state. Have we learned anything? Have we learned how to do things relatively safely? But more so in this state, are they going to be permitted? Obviously, when we sat here when it started, JJ, I really believed there's no way the governor's going to, if everybody else plays, she's not going to say you can't play. We're not going to be the only state in America that's not letting our teams play. Well, in fact, we're the only state in America that isn't letting our teams play. I think there's a couple other that aren't letting high schools. So obviously that's not an issue. I don't know why she wouldn't feel the same way going forward for a second year. Yep, nope, you can't play a second year. Deal with it. Like, we're running really into Ice Tips go dark for 2 years in a row. Then I start to worry about the future, don't you?
That's not good.
Global baseball goes dark 2 years in a row. What do you do? What's the program do? What about all those student athletes in there?
You're essentially starting over at that point in time. Probably you have a bunch of guys that say, I'm going to go play somewhere else, and got to recruit a whole new baseball team.
Yeah. So all that's real, and all of your concerns, they're legit. All right, when we get back, I want to get into the NFL a little bit. The decision in Philadelphia to change courses on coach, which is really a reversal from a few weeks ago. And Dan Quinn is the new defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. I've got thoughts on that as well. Also, Chris Jan spoke yesterday, the New Mexico State coach. They're just sitting around trying to get COVID clear. That's why the Lobos are playing their opponent this weekend. It's the opening drive. Jeff, JJ, Micah, Josh. We're on ProView Networks at 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide coaches award program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
To create space, he gives it off to Rivas for the three, and he buries it.
They'll be coming in soon. Double pick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window scores and is fouled.
Right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a...
Around the screen, against White, step back, it's blocked! JB with the block!
Can't transition ahead to hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance, and it's put up, and it's good. What a three that is by Jalen.
Hidon puts it up.
Rebound, Cowboys. Right side, David Hall. Thank you very much. Here come the Cowboys. Domina Lovato lays it up. Missed it. Hey, how about it? Thank you, Lusses. Thank you very much, Raquan Mitchell. Clock at 6. They get it. Barnes Tompkins fires. Yes! Pass up court. This for the win. Blocked by DJ Bustos. Cowboys win. Cowboys win.
Moreno extra pass. And Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's going to run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos' hand. And
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open.
Jefferson to Daraji!
We'll back up. Devin Singletary, running back for the Buffalo Football Bills. It's the opening drive, Jeff, JJ, and Micah. Yesterday in the NFL, you saw, I don't know if it's you can't sit around and say you're surprised. Now, maybe you can. You can't be stunned. You might have thought the Philadelphia Eagles were going to stay with Doug Peterson because they said they were going to stay with their head coach, Doug Peterson, who took them to the Super Bowl. And then things went horribly south for them, and the last game of the year was a borderline debacle, wouldn't you say? Where they benched Jalen Hurts, brought in Nate Sudfeld, lost a game to the Jets that had playoff implications, not for them, but for two other teams in their division. There were whispers. I don't think they were whispers. There were comments coming out of their locker room, unhappy about the coach. Same coach took them to a Super Bowl. And it's fallen apart since. And it's amazing what happens in the NFL, JJ, to teams who go to the Super Bowl and what happens to them 2 years or a year later. You know, you look at, San Francisco was just so injured this year, but they were in the Super Bowl last year. The Rams last year coming off of their Super Bowl loss. The Eagles a couple of years away from a Super Bowl. The Falcons right after their Super Bowl. And I understand why, salary cap stuff and guys leaving and the team's breaking up, and it's hard to keep it together, which makes what New England did even more amazing, right? To be able to do that for 2 decades. I wasn't surprised, but a week ago I would have been, or 2 weeks ago, before the finale of the regular season, I would have been surprised. I thought Doug Peterson had earned a down year and was going to be back and was going to be the guy that was going to try to put that thing back. Were you surprised at all when they went the other way yesterday?
I was, because it felt like they had at least figured out what had happened over the last few weeks in terms of maybe there were some decisions outside of the Doug Peterson's hands when it came to quarterback play and what was going to happen. All he had to do was be a man to those guys and say, hey, this is what happened in the fourth quarter. This is why Nate Sudfeld took the field, talk it out, and move on. But it feels like they weren't able to move on because there are too many cooks in the kitchen in Philadelphia. And when you're a head coach You're going to have to listen to the front office. There's going to be people at times that feel they know better than you, which is all of us. But it felt like in that organization, it just got really messy. And Doug Peterson got to a point where he was like, I am done having all of you make game day decisions with this roster piece. And I think what it does, too, is it solidifies that Carson Wentz will be in Philadelphia next year.
Why do you think that?
Because it's easier to get rid of the coach in this situation. It feels like there's still people in that organization that are team Wentz and not willing to eat the money on his salary, and we're just better off moving on with Doug Peterson and however he felt about the quarterbacks to bring in some dude going, guess what? Come coach Philadelphia, you get Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I still think that there's people within the organization, but I think it's really going to depend on, and maybe you only bring in a head coach who's all on Wentz. You still have the two quarterbacks there. You still have a situation of uncertainty. You still have a Carson Wentz who was borderline horrible this year. And so I'm not as convinced. And I'm not sold that if Indianapolis doesn't come with a package that is attractive enough that they don't send Carson Wentz to Indianapolis and think that they've got their answer in Jalen Hurts.
I don't think it's off the table. If a team is willing to trade for Carson Wentz and take on his money, then you're not getting hit with that dead salary cap and stuff that's going to hamstring you for years to come. I just think it's, when you look at it, it's a calmer situation. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is still there, and he's in the conversation when it comes to, can this guy be a starting quarterback? Could he be our starting quarterback? But it feels like this decision, too, puts Wentz back at the forefront going, you need to make it work with this guy. Come in to see what you can do with Carson Wentz before we get back to this, do we have a quarterback problem in Philadelphia?
It's going to depend on who the coach is. Is Eric Bieniemy the number one candidate on every single coaching opening in the NFL right now? It feels to me every list that comes out, Eric Bieniemy's at the top of the list. He's the offensive coordinator for the
players. Want to see what he can do. You know, Andy Reid's offense, even without Patrick Mahomes, has worked in this league, and he has some really good concepts. That's why Deshaun Watson was like, hey, can we give this guy a look? I'd like to see what he can bring to the table. Quarterbacks want to play in an offense that is friendly to them. That's what Kansas City has been. Now they have the best quarterback in the league at this moment in time in Patrick Mahomes. But players want that opportunity to have that Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy offense, open it up and attack downfield.
Yeah, he's going to get a job, and there's no way he's not going to get a job, and he's going to really have his pick. And it feels like he's going to do well, and everybody loves him, but that's what it feels. All right, Dan Quinn, fired mid-season, was the head football coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Surfaces yesterday, and this took a day, right? They fired Mike Nolan the day before, and they hired Dan Quinn. I mean, they knew where they were going. I love the hire. I'm not one of those guys who you know, I look at some of the coaches who didn't succeed at head coaches around the league and watch them do well again as coordinators. And you can go back to how many times Norv Turner resurfaced and did well. I watch what Raheem Morris is doing. I think Todd Bowles is doing a terrific job. And I think Dan Quinn is that guy. He may get a head coaching job again. I don't know. He did go to a Super Bowl as a head coach, and he is the architect of that Legion of Boom defense in Seattle that was so good and went to Super Bowls. And I don't know that Dallas could have done better. I've been obviously very critical. I took the D out of Dallas. I thought they were the Dallas Cowboys all season. They had no D. And to find a guy like this, I think this is an absolute freaking home run for them.
Oh, I agree. And we were having a little back and forth yesterday, Mike and Josh, when we were bouncing around coordinators. You know, sometimes you overreact just to overreact. Like Michael was like, "Oh, Dan Quinn." I'm like, "Why?" Like, we don't know who half the coordinators are in this league. So obviously they're doing their job. I was like, "Who's the Rams defense coordinator right now?" No idea, but it's a pretty good, darn good defense. So it's a situation that he has a good track record, knows what it takes. Now you get some players in there. See if it works.
I'm not even sure what's the downside of Dan Quinn. Like if you're a detractor of this move, what's the downside? What don't you like about this? I don't even know what the other side is.
this is what happens. It doesn't work as a head coach, but you go back to being a coordinator in a different situation. That's Dan Quinn.
How good was Norv Turner as a coordinator? Wasn't a great head coach, right? Bill Callahan is considered one of the greatest offensive line coaches in the history of the game. It didn't work as head coach of the Raiders. Raheem Morris is doing a great job as a coordinator now, an interim head coach. Todd Bowles, look what he's doing as a defensive coordinator now. It didn't work as head coach of the Jets. I mean, they're all over the place. They're really good coaches who, by the way, were great coordinators that got them the head coaching job. Typically, when a job is open in the National Football League, you're taking over a bad situation anyway, and you don't get a lot of time to succeed, and it doesn't make you a bad coach. You were still a damn good coordinator. You're probably still going to be a damn good coordinator, and now you have more experience as a head coach and you have a better perspective. Like, I don't even see the downside of Dan Quinn going into Dallas. I think it's all upside for them.
I agree.
All right. Good enough. Rocky Long was a good coordinator before. He spent 2 decades as a great head coach, and now he's a good coordinator again, right? Just saying. 505-246-0610. Would love your thoughts on the football stuff. Alabama over Ohio State last night. The Lobos going to Dixie Kirky, and I want to get into what Chris Jans had to say a little bit yesterday as well, the New Mexico State coach. Conversed regarding his Aggie basketball team. It's the opening drive. Jeff, JJ, Micah, and Josh on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
I'll just get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what
Hill's gonna just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's gonna fire at the buzzer and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside, fly, Eagle.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Couldn't have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
To the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Oh! Ho, ho, ho.
Let's see if Melfi can cash it in. He's got some protection. Deep ball. Erickson's open. Touchdown, Monarchs.
Second and 10. Smith. Looking, and he's going to fire over the middle, and he's got his guy, and it's another big play. Walking away for a touchdown, Tristan Altier.
They're going to hand it off to Chavez. Chavez breaking tackles, look out. Chavez up the sideline, stays in bounds. Touchdown, Volkanovich.
That replay, I got you. Measurement. I mean, Smith's got a fire on first down, and he's on the outside. There's a lot of room for Brad Thomas. A move, and he's set free. Dance into the end zone. Touchdown. So it goes.
He'll run with it. Stumbling. Gets down into the end zone. And looking to throw it. And he throws it in the end zone. Caught!
First and 10 from the 11. And spin move for Smith. Push the B button. Dance into the end zone.
He'll throw it. Looking. Here comes the rush. Stepping up. Pavia now running around. Being chased. Looks across. Throws it up, man's wide open. Ball is caught. Touchdown. Jimmy Gaye. Chavez dropping, looking, stepping up. He's going to run. He's got a lot of green in front of him. To the end zone. Touchdown. Rio Rancho, Isaiah Chavez. Chavez set. He's going to run with it again and dives and...
Austin Smith, and to the outside, a lot of room. Look out, a foot race down the sideline. All the way on the first play from scrimmage, Chris. That's a touchdown.
Scrambling. And off, great hit, he bounces off, outside. Got some daylight at the 20, the 10, the 5. What an incredible run.
Lovato driving.
So New Mexico State basketball was scheduled to play at Dixie State this week, and of course the Aggies are not playing because of COVID positives within their program. And so the Lobos will play Dixie State tomorrow in St. George, home of Dixie State, and then house themselves in St. George next week and play their home series against San Jose State in St. George. Of course, it all makes sense. It's the opening drive. Jeff, JJ, Micah, and Josh. So, JJ, Chris Jans had weird Zoom press conferences. He was riding and shotgunning his car.
The man's not in the car. Just move it. Be like, sorry, guys, we're going to have to do it 45 minutes later so he can not be in a car.
Well, with all, like with nothing going, they're not practicing. Like, where the hell was he going to the golf course? Like, well, it was.
He's like, you know what, guys? I need some chicken fingers. I'll be back.
So bizarre. So Jans is sitting shotgun in his car on his phone doing a Zoom press conference, and you could just sense the frustration oozing out of him, and I can't blame him. They've had so many games canceled from COVID in their program. They played once in 5-6 weeks. They had the Northridge game. Arizona was canceled before that. They had the Santa Clara game, the Cal Poly game, the 2 UC Riverside games canceled. Now the Dixie State games canceled. And he just wants to play. And I have no idea how good they're going to be. What they're going to be able to do, when they're going to be able to do it. But man, of everybody that's going through all this crap, like I feel for him right now.
Yeah, and there's nothing left to do. You have positive cases, then you have to pause. And so if everyone is good coming off of that and can stay healthy.
Yeah, it's nuts, and I don't know when they're going to play and how good they're going to be when they do. Sean, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. What's up, Sean?
Good morning, gentlemen. How's it going?
Greetings. It's good. How are you?
Doing well. So I'd like to start off with just addressing Lance. If I may understand he might be a little hard of hearing. Yesterday, I did say his name, but I corrected myself to say it was Edward talking about Lamar Jackson. So we'll just start with that. I understand he was a little testy this morning. I don't need to call Jim Rome to talk sports. He won't let me talk Jets anyway. That guy doesn't care.
Right. Fair enough.
I don't know what calling him to Jim Rome is going to prove to anybody, but I appreciate the suggestion. We spoke about it last week. Justin Fields, great player, still doesn't go number 2 to the Jets. But on the flip side, say Mac Jones falls to the 3rd round. Would you pick him up there if you were the Jets?
Yeah, absolutely in the 3rd round. I just don't think he's going to be there in the 3rd round.
No. But could you picture him being paired with maybe Devontae Smith if we take him in the 1st round?
Well, if you take him in the 1st round, if you take Devontae Smith. Yeah, but I think Devontae Smith all of a sudden, it makes Sam Darnold a hell of a lot better, doesn't it?
It does. But don't you think Darnold would push Jones? They have a similar skill set, in my opinion. I think they'd be great competition for each other.
That's fine. I think Darnold wins it in the immediate, and it's his to lose. And then you've got Mac Jones to go to if you want to go the bullpen later and find a 3rd string or a 3rd round quarterback like Russell Wilson, if you think you could hit on that. I just don't think Mac Jones is going to be sitting there in the 3rd round.
No. I think with how he's played through the playoffs, 2nd round at the worst for that guy.
I agree with you.
But like JJ was saying, I don't see the talent difference being two-way between him and, like, Trask. I've never seen enough from the kid from, or like you said, man from BYU to really get a good read on the guy. But, yeah, I'd put Fields definitely number 2, and beyond that, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I want to see the guy from both the North Dakota State kid, because I think that's the absolute wild card in this whole thing. He played, one game this year, JJ? I think he's the absolute wild card. And my gut tells me he's going to go into the combines, and all of a sudden somebody's going to go, oh, look at him, he's so great, and he ran a 4.56 40, and his arm strength, and he's going to climb. And I just think there's a lot that happens between now and April.
There is. April is a long way away, but appreciate you, gentlemen. Have a good one.
All right, see you. I want to dive more into Wilson, the BYU. I'm just telling you, the more I listen to guys that I really respect, JJ, some of the quarterback guys, the talking heads, Wilson sounds like he might be the real deal.
There's nothing not to like about him. He's got the arm strength. He has that quarterback athleticism you're looking for these days to keep plays alive, get a few yards out of the pocket. Tough, he checks all the cliche boxes for quarterbacks, but also the performance. The BYU didn't play the toughest schedule this season, but they were a team that absolutely destroyed the majority of their schedule. So you're going to look at the Coastal Carolina game, which is a tight contest, how he played. It's very similar. Now he has a lot more buzz, but it's like a Josh Allen 2.0 for a lot of people. I'm like, wait, BYU quarterback? There's a good one? I thought the last one was like Steve Young or Ty Detmer. No, yeah, there's a pretty good one coming out now from Zach Wilson.
Jim McMahon was good. Ty Detmer was good. Robbie Bosco was good. But yeah, this one's good. This one's really good. All right, Jackson Little baseball schedule. I've seen Jeff them in that Phoenix tournament 5 weeks from now in a Mountain West Conference opening series at Dreamstyle against Air Force before the end of February. Eddie needs a plan like yesterday, right? Yeah, they need a plan pretty soon. Terry's in on Lobo basketball RPI, currently 171. Do you know what they're projected to finish, according to him? And I haven't looked this up, but I'm going to take his word for it. Projected RPI, and I know that's a somewhat antiquated metric, but do you have any idea? 297. 297. Rough year. He says next season can't come fast enough. Omar says, remember the Steelers were undefeated walking into Texas Stadium on November 8th, Jeff? And even though Dallas lost in a photo finish, we gave the rest of the NFL a blueprint on how to beat Pittsburgh. Yep, see, it's all up to you. That's why Cleveland beat them. It's because of what the Alice at that point, the Alice Cowboys, did to the Steelers.
Good job, Cowboys.
Good job. Good effort. Yeah. What do I get tonight? Do I get anything tonight? Now the college football being over is a big, like by the way, like, congratulations to college football for getting through the season, because I don't know that was we sat here in July and August, we thought we were going to see what we saw last night. And I'm not telling you it was perfect. I'm not even going to tell you it was pretty. I will tell you it was good. I think there were good moments. Aren't you glad the Lobos played? Aren't you glad that you get to see those last 2 games of Lobo football? Aren't you glad you get to see what you saw last night? You might not have loved bowl season. Maybe you did. I don't know. But I'm glad that we got to play. I just, congratulations on getting through college football season, because that is no small task that everybody involved with college football just pulled off.
Did what you had to do, doing the same thing now with college basketball, and just find a way through it.
1 minute.
It does bum me out that college football's over. I'm not going to lie. I mean, like when football season ends, I am that guy.
You finally got the bug back.
Yeah.
Early in the season, it's kind of like, we're not playing football around here, or whatever. Then it gets going, and you're like, okay, this is what's up.
The Aggies play in 5 weeks, or at least they're scheduled to play in 5 weeks. They'll play Dixie State, Tarleton State, and Hylas, right, in some order. Wherever they're going to play them, I don't know. Jim Rome Show is next, and Patrick Show follows that. Sports Bar this afternoon at 3 with more local sports talk with Trulio and Carlisle. Josh, good job. You can watch what he did at 3 o'clock this afternoon on Comcast Channel 26. Micah, tremendous job. What are we going to do with your hair, dude? You cutting it? I mean, that's a big issue now. I think we should put it on the pole. JJ, enjoy the day. Big day.
Have a day, y'all.
Be good to each other, please. Be kind, loving, caring, and sharing. We'll see you tomorrow.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlings, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
That ball stolen. Jeremy Segura.
Dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass. Wrap around pass.
Harris, Legate, the long bomb, 3 ball.
Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores.
The whole little jump step in the... And look out, here comes Agbayosi, Crawford. That's blocked. Lansing says, get that out of here. Sister to sister, Marianne Lansing's going to go all the way. Turnaround. Ramos, pump fake, everyone bites. Ramos hits.
Jackson loses it. Jalen Bond back, LAU, put it down. Dunkalicious.